Okay, let's go ahead and let's call the Planning Commission meeting. And later it'll be followed by the Planning Commission and the Joint Historic Design Review Commission meeting for November 18th, 2025. Let's go ahead and call that to order. Tia, would you like to take a roll call, please?
Chair Hyatt, Commissioner Lemberg, Commissioner Hobbs.
Here.
And Commissioner Galliard and Vice Chair Kramer are absent.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay, so tonight, one of the first things I'd like to do is I'd like to switch up the order of agenda items slightly. Right now we have item 2 is public comment and item 3 is approval of minutes from our October 21st meeting. I'd like to switch those. And I believe I need approval from the other planning commissioners to do that. And so Commissioner Lemberg and Commissioner Hobbs.
Okay.
Okay.
Whoa, okay. That works pretty good.
Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's move forward. So approval of the minutes from October 21st, 2025. I was reviewing those minutes and I had some discussion on item D. Item D was the administrative permit for a short-term rental at 10670 Sunrise Ridge Circle, file APL 25-03. And you may recall, commissioners, that we had a lot of discussion about this item last month. The minutes reflect, and remember, these are action item minutes only, and they reflect some changes to that particular item, adding M, the owner shall comply with the requirements of Auburn Municipal Code Section 33.185 regarding transient occupancy taxes, and item N, provided that this approval is not in violation of the Vintage Oaks CC&Rs. You may recall that we had a lot of discussion about that, and at the end, I walked away with the impression that the City of Auburn, city staff, would be notifying the Homeowners Association to make sure that there was no conflict. Since that time, city staff has informed me through discussions that they have had with the city attorney, and I'd like to read these particular items into the record so that it's understood what the city attorney says about staff contacting homeowners associations and getting in the middle of a potential dispute between a short-term rental and a homeowners association. Legal counsel stated that CC&Rs are private agreements between private properties and as a rule are not enforced by the city. The city applies its own rules to applications and the HOA would be responsible for enforcing its CC&Rs. If the city denied a permit based upon CC&Rs when the application otherwise met the city's requirements, it would be subject to challenge and the city would likely be overturned because of a violation of the CC&Rs is not a basis to deny a permit by the city. If an approval violates one of those private agreements, the parties to the agreement may pursue their own legal remedies. I think it's important to note because it's a little bit different than what we walked away with. And so I'd like to add that to tonight's record. But with that, I would also like to motion that I feel that the minutes from October 21st, 2025 are in order and would make a motion to approve those minutes. you like to call a vote, please?
Chair Hyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Lemberg, Commissioner Hobbs.
Yes.
Okay, so that approves the minutes from our October 21st, 2025. So that moves us into the next item, which is the public comment item this evening.
Chair Hyatt.
Yes.
I don't believe we did roll call for.
Oh, yeah, I think,
I apologize.
that's fine. No problem, Tia. It's okay, we have a lot of things to cover this evening. Okay, so the second item we have on the agenda is public comment, and this is a standard agenda item. But I want to bring this up in particular tonight because tonight's discussion, public comment is the times for anyone from the public to provide to the commission comments that they have on anything that is not on the agenda. I want to emphasize the word not on the agenda. One of tonight's, well, let's go through and talk about what tonight's agenda items are. We have appeal for a denied administrative permit for a fence height that is at 865 El Oro Drive. We also have presentations. One is an update presentation from the Auburn 2045 General Plan Update. The next is a Auburn State Theater presentation. And then the last presentation is on a potential opportunity called the Sluice Box, located at 250 Washington Street in Old Town. So those are the agenda items that we have for this evening. Now, when we talk about public comment for items that are not on the agenda, that would mean anything except those items. Notice that when we are talking about the general plan update, this is an informational update only to the public. There is no action that will be taken tonight on the general plan. And therefore, it is anticipated that no discussion from the public would come on the general plan update tonight. When it comes to any specific parcels or zoning of those parcels that the public might have as related to general plan updates, we would like you to address those during the open public comment item, which is the item that we're entering into right now. Let me rephrase that. If there is anybody that has specific comments about parcels that might be related to the general plan, we would like you to address those during the public comment period, which occurs right now. And so we're going to ask the public to come to the podium. We would like everybody to state their name and their address, and we have a limited time for that public comment. We would like to keep this somewhat short because I imagine that many of you have comments on this evening, and we want to be able to allow time to hear from everyone. So we would like to keep this to 3 minutes per speaker, please. And I see that we have our first speaker at the podium. Thank you, and we'd love to hear your comment.
Hi there, I'm Jackie House, 220 Hidden Creek Drive. And good evening, everyone. I wanted to start by expressing my appreciation to city staff, to the consultants, and to the city officials for all of the attention and careful consideration of numerous comments that have been submitted on the general plan update with respect to a 14-acre parcel located southwest of the intersection of Nevada Street and Blocker Drive, referred to as the Blocker Drive property. And I see on the current general plan map that there's a residential designation on that property, as well as resource conservation along the western edge where there's a perennial stream. Community members are in favor of residential use on the site, and we're very pleased that the city has taken our comments into consideration. We also understand that the general plan EIR will present several alternatives for consideration. And one of those alternatives will include industrial use on that property. And I wanted to reiterate that there is strong community-wide opposition to industrial use of that property based on its location in proximity to two neighborhoods and within the city historic district, and impacts that would be associated with industrial on noise, light and glare, truck traffic, aesthetics, and natural resources. So in coming months, as the general plan documents are finalized and circulated for review, I'd really like to encourage the planning commissioners to come take a look at the site. It's situated in a very unique setting in that it's a west-facing, rather steep hill slope, and it's tucked in between two neighborhoods with a creek at the base. It's not contiguous with the Nevada Street Industrial Corridor. In fact, only the very narrow ridge top is visible from Nevada Street. It's separated from the industrial corridor by an approximately 30-foot high cut slope and the railroad tracks. And so it's really on a west-facing slope, part of the two neighborhoods, Hidden Creek to the west and Prospect Hill to the south. And I'd like to invite you all to try to take a chance in the next couple months to come take a look. It's easily viewed from the Prospect Hill at the end of Merrow Court, and it's also easily viewed from Hidden Creek Drive. I've invited some of you by email in past months to come take a look from my deck, and my promise holds true that I won't monopolize the conversation with my personal views. It's just an opportunity for you to get your eyes on it, become well-informed decision makers, and when the time comes, as documents progress, will have a better feel for it. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate the comments. I can't speak for the other commissioners, but I can tell you that I have been out there most recently this afternoon because it wasn't raining. And so I have seen the site, but I think you're wise to invite people to come out and see the site for themselves. Thank you.
Great.
Other public comments?
Hello, my name is Doak Whitley and I live at 237 Merrow Street or Merrow Court. So I'm on the property adjacent to this property. And while I read the report about the impact, it didn't talk about the noise impact of the ongoing industrial work. The backup beeps from box trucks backing up on that zone will be incessant. In fact, my neighbor and I complained to the city because they have a courtyard on Blocker that we could hear their backup beeps in the morning. And we asked them to back their trucks in the evening. They did it. So we don't get the incessant beeping in the morning. So anyway, I mean, not having that sound study or impact study of the ongoing operation of this looks like a fairly large industrial complex, I think is an issue. The streets are narrow. I think as you drive up there, drive in those streets and imagine box trucks going in opposite directions. I don't see how they could get up and down Buena Vista, Andrews, Merrow Street. I just don't think it's doable. And in the parking now today, you know, we have gardeners, garbage trucks, street sweepers that park or move along that, mainly the Merrill Street side of it, there is no way two-way traffic could get through. Because it's a court, in essence, a dead end. And by the way, when you stop in the dead end, you can look down to the left, that's my house. So if you go up to look, just know that I'm right there. Anyway, I don't know what the parking rules would have to be because of the street widths, but they're fairly narrow. And if you go down Buena Vista and you take that turn down towards Andrews, that is a narrow, narrow road, as you could talk to any of your garbage truck drivers. So I don't think, I'm concerned about opening up Merrill Street all the way to Blocker, just because it'll infuse potentially more traffic coming through our neighborhood, especially if something happens to access on Blocker. Then all the traffic would come through our neighborhood, and that would, I think, would be a huge issue. It couldn't take it, frankly. It couldn't take the two-way traffic in that neighborhood. And the noise, the ongoing noise of the backup, I think is an issue that wasn't raised or wasn't addressed. There was no study done on that. So I think those are the main complaints I have of being right there next to the site. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Good evening. My name is Gary, last name Mappa. I'm
Gary
the
Mapp.
Mappa, M-A-P-A.
Thank you.
I'm the president of Save Auburn Ravine Salmon and Steelhead. And we would like to pledge to you our support in doing whatever we can do to help mitigate any kind of impacts to Spanish Ravine, which is a tributary to Auburn Ravine. So our concern would be anything that might pollute the stream. Blackberries are known to suck up a lot of water. So I think it's very important we look at environmentally what we can do to minimize any impacts. We are not, at least as a board, against any kind of project. Preferably, we would lean more toward a residential type use, because I know Auburn is maybe not meeting its housing element needs, even though industrial would generate, it'd be good for the economy, but I think residential is much more essential. I grew up in this town, graduated from Placer High, and I really have a vested interest in seeing that this area be developed, but developed in a responsible way, with the environment being a major concern. We've already gone out to the site and looked at it. We're going to be doing water sampling for temperature, and we'll do whatever we can as Save Auburn Ravine Salmon and Steelhead to work with the city on this neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening, commissioners and staff. I wanted to, my name is Linda Newhauser. I live at 255 Hidden Creek Drive. It's spelled Neuhauser. And I first wanted to thank the commission again and all the staff for a lot of work done on this. Certainly the change from industrial to planned residential is much better. And I wanted to underscore the last couple of speakers, what they had to say about noise. We did not see that in the initial plan. Conservation, besides the fish issue, there are also a lot of protected oaks. There's like 200 oaks there. And you may have received a letter from an oaks conservation group about that. So those are very important trees as well as other trees. We have a lot of wildlife there who depend on that creek and the surrounding area for protection. So this is another important issue. And I want to bring up another safety issue, and that is that, as we just heard, it's really crowded, already congested there. And you have besides the issue with some of these very narrow streets, you have the train, you have a bus depot, you have a paratransit depot. And so it's already very congested there. Some of us worry about fires getting in and out. And so, that needs to be taken into consideration with any new plan. So we're looking forward to seeing the EIR in February. And thanks again for all the work that's been put in.
Thank you. We too are also looking forward to seeing the draft EIR.
Good evening. My name is Craig Buxton, and I live at 255 Hidden Creek Drive. And I only have one, and I think very important request of you, because of not just this particular parcel or area, but also the implication and precedents it's set by the way you define industrial, an industrial park, and industrial uses. I went through the original plan for that parcel, and anybody else who had done so would have a hard time distinguishing that structure from a storage structure, which you can find on nearby streets where DMV is located. But more importantly is to have a real clear understanding and provide us with your learning about that, so that we're not just this parcel, but as we go forward in this wonderful, beautiful area, we are cognizant of what the implications are of using the term industrial and park. Thank you.
So let me ask you a question, if I may. So it sounds like you're concerned about, you don't know what the exact definition of industrial is, so you may visualize one particular thing, concrete plant or something like that. Whereas if industrial were defined a little bit better for you, it may help you to understand this better, and you might generate differing opinions. Is that the way I understand it?
Partially, yes. I've gone through this in a previous location that we lived in the Bay Area, and I was actually on a city commission. And so, yes, is the answer to that. But I think I want to underline that I've seen for quite a while ambiguity created around this term industrial and the history of what we mean by the term. It's not office space. It's not places where people are going to be doing AI coding. It's essentially mechanical. And that implies, if I know more about it, that I have to think through what are the implications for the environment, for the community, for the attraction that this wonderful place has to bring people like us up here. So that's my concern.
Okay, thank you.
First, let me apologize for standing while everyone else was sitting during that last person's speech. My name is Lane Hackett. I live at 231 Merrow Street. I'm Doak's neighbor. And I'm wanting to comment a little bit about the traffic as well, because as we go up and down Andrews, particularly going down, it puts us on the freeway side of this very narrow road. And you can look down, the slope is very, very, very steep. Slight wrong turn, and we'll be down on the freeway. That simple. And the other day, I had an example that brought this even more to my attention. At the top of Andrews, before you turn left onto Live Oak, was a truck that was needing some help. The tow truck was behind the truck needing help and was creating a little traffic jam. I sat there for about 10 minutes, and coming in all three directions at that junction, where cars backed up. And I thought this one vehicle incident was really stopping everyone from moving for quite a while. And it just made me aware that this project should not be happening. So thank you very much.
Thank you. It's good to see you again. I recall seeing you at one of our last planning commission meetings. Thank you for coming out. I appreciate you all keeping the time short. It helps keep our long meeting moving along. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Don Ravines. I'm the Conservation Chair of Sierra Foothills Audubon Society. We have over 180 Auburn members in our society. The 2025 State of Birds Report revealed continued widespread declines in American bird populations across all mainland and marine habitats, with 229 species requiring urgent conservation action. White-tailed kite has confirmed nest sites within the Auburn State Recreation Area less than 1 mile from the plant area. It's a fully protected species in the state of California, so please provide documentation of steps that will be taken to protect this species. American peregrine falcon has confirmed nest sites within the Auburn State Recreation Area less than 1 mile from the plant area. Please protect the nest sites from encroaching development and include a section in the plan that deals with the recovery effects for sensitive species such as these. The connections between climate change and birds are becoming increasingly clear. Warming temperatures have changed where birds live, the time of their migration patterns and egg laying, and even the size and shapes of their bodies. 2/3 of the North American bird species can face extinction if we fail to slow the rate of global temperature rise. Adopting a city sustainability plan for sustained quality growth and reduce climate impacts can not only have actions to reduce energy use, retrofitting buildings, LED use, heat pump appliance replacement, but offset current use for renewable energy, solar panels, solar and wind farms. It should also specify how the general plan will be periodically audited to make sure the goals of a sustainability plan are obtained. The sustainability plan will identify and fund GHG reduction and support climate adaptation programs or projects. GHG reductions from these programs and projects should be real, permanent, quantifiable, verifiable, and enforceable. It would facilitate a transition to electricity as a primary energy source for residential, mixed-use, commercial, and office buildings, and facilitate the Pioneer Community Energy goal of 100% renewable electricity. We recommend that the Audubon General Plan also include a climate action plan element with policies and actions to reduce climate change. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Jennifer Ryan, 204 Hampton Court. While I appreciate going from industrial to residential, my concern is the medium density versus the low density. There's so much traffic there already with the buses and the train. If there's a train, I can't imagine how far that traffic would back up onto Nevada Street and down Fulweiler if it got to be that bad, if there was a really long train. And just the whole thing, someone mentioned about fire. If there's a fire, that's even more people we're trying to get out of there. So that was my big concern, was medium density versus low density. Though I think our neighborhood would appreciate seeing no density. That was my biggest concern over that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Joe Medeiros, and I am at 2542 Crew Court in Auburn. I just decided that I would hop onto this thing because what Spanish Ravine really kind of started our interest in looking more closely at it. I'm with Sarsis as well. And so we decided to, being an Auburn organization, that we should really look at what's going on with Spanish Ravine on this property. And my colleague Bill will talk more about groundwater recharge issues. So what we're really interested in is groundwater clarity, volume, groundwater recharge. We'll talk about this more in the general plan as well. But this is just a tremendous piece of property, and we're very much concerned that any project will be responsible enough to make sure that groundwater is not. The groundwater is not trapped and sent off down into flood control situations and cause more flood damage down below, but that it will trickle and move laterally into Secret Ravine as well. So our real interest is water and also watersheds like Spanish Ravine in the entire city of Auburn itself. So many of these creeklets are very important to include in this Auburn Ravine watershed, and we intend to do a lot more mapping and efforts to see what Auburn, see what we can do to help with the what we call the headwaters of Auburn Ravine. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Barbara Ravines, and I come kind of a long way. We're from Grass Valley, my husband and myself. I'm here on behalf of the Motherlode chapter of the Sierra Club, and which is sort of the mothership for the Placer Group and the Sierra Nevada Group, which is what I'm a part of. We're very interested that this possibility of a sustainability plan, and it's important that we would like to see the sustainability plan for a quality growth. It doesn't necessarily mean retaining the current system of sustainability, but what's required to return it to a more natural sustainability, one that reduces greenhouse gases to combat climate change and restores the natural environment of forests and grasslands in the city limits. The sustainability plan and identified and funds GHG, or greenhouse gas reduction, and supports climate adaptation programs or projects. GHG reductions from these programs and projects should be real, permanent, quantifiable, verifiable, and enforceable. It would facilitate a transition to electricity as the primary energy source for residential, mixed-use, commercial, and office buildings. It would allow installation of new natural gas infrastructure or connections to existing natural gas infrastructure to serve new development. Building codes need to enforce this. The plan would explore requiring greenfield residential construction to be all electric, except as may be needed for public health and safety. I know there are negatives to this for many people, but it's something that needs to be done for the future of our planet, in my opinion. So here's an opportunity for the Auburn General Plan to contain these strategies that will enable the city to reach California goals of renewable portfolio standards for 2030 and through 2050. The city should pass a resolution that calls for 100% renewable electricity by 2035 and 100% renewable energy by 2050, and so on. Finally, we ask to add a new chapter to your general plan called the Climate Action Plan, unless I'm not sure if you already have one. Not every jurisdiction does, but it's certainly helpful toward these goals.
That's a climate action plan?
A climate action plan. Climate action plan. I thank you very much for listening to a neighbor coming in and talking to you, and thank you very much. Would you like a copy? Would you take copies of things that people are saying?
You can actually provide it to staff, and then staff will get that to us. Thank you.
I'm William Pennington, 1485 Sherland Tract Road, Auburn. Bill, I would like to add a little bit to the discussion about the Blocker Street development options. In any case, I think it's important to understand the groundwater situation over the history of the Auburn area. The groundwater's gone down, and that affects creeks like Spanish Ravine, Auburn Ravine, and the others. Any development there should take into consideration the fact that they could redirect a lot of water to some storage facility and treated and sent somewhere else. It needs to do what it's traditionally done and gone into the creek. And there are ways to help that by making groundwater infiltration facilities necessary or required on these new development sites. If you had industrial development, all of this hard surface, there's a lot of runoff, and you don't get to take advantage of that going to these little creeks. It's very important. That's a very significant ecological and biological area. Important for its own sake. It's important for future recreation. So please, for this future sustainability of these areas, consider the importance of groundwater to the local area and to the city.
I'm sure that you're familiar with pervious pavement. And so that's whether, I have no way of knowing at this time, how this is going to go, whether it be residential, industrial, or what have you. But that's kind of thing is something that could be used and should be considered.
Thank you.
My name is Jeff Wharton, Jeff with a G, Geoff.
Thank you.
I'm at 180 Hidden Creek Drive. I'm just here to support our, other residents. When this plan came about, it was very vague, and the destruction that's happening in that area, even if it is residential, we're going to be knocking down, hundreds of oaks, and also moving just tons of dirt. Where is it really that beneficial for that little piece of land? I know it's revenue, and I know it's, good for, money for the city of Auburn, but we all lived here. We all grew up here for one reason, and it was the outdoors, the wildlife. As many have said, there's so much wildlife out there. I mean, there's a family of foxes. What happens? Just so that we can put an industrial park. What is that industrial park? What is the byproduct of that industrial park? Does it go, I know there's probably EPA concerns and stuff like that, but I just feel like we're trying to fit something in such a small footprint where maybe we could do industrial somewhere else where it's more sustainable and not in this residential area where it's so close to many resources that we love, and this is why we live in the city of Auburn. So
you make good points. Something to consider though also, and there's always two sides to every discussion. But Auburn unfortunately has a lot of people that live here that drive down the hill to work, maybe to work in industrial parks or in other places down the hill. Obviously, it would help with minimizing greenhouse gases, make things a little more sustainable if some of those Auburn folks could live and work here in our city. But like I say, there are two sides there.
Yeah,
for-
there's always two sides. I mean, in the big scheme, I mean, how many people are going to actually live there? I mean, you know, I don't know. I would love to see, I mean, I appreciate the openness of maybe just doing industrial. I think industrial just, it, you know, from my other residents here, it just doesn't seem like it would be a good plan. There's just so many negatives that, you know, traffic, like we've said, there's just, the negatives are just enormous. And residential, you know, there's always that happy medium. And I do appreciate, you know, the concerns of, you know, greenhouse gases also.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Does that conclude public comment? So we had, it seems like all speakers were speaking with respect to the Blocker Drive property this evening. Just of note, thank you all for making your comments. And hearing no other public comments, let's move on to our next agenda this evening. And that is our first public hearing. And this is a public hearing for the Planning Commission only. And this public hearing is an appeal of a denied administrative permit for a fence height and a setback located at 865 El Oro Drive here in Auburn. Just so that everyone understands, our public hearing process is such. I'll announce the agenda, which I just did, and then I'll invite staff to report on that item, followed by planning commissioners having the opportunity to ask questions of staff. From there, we then go to public comment for this particular item. And I would like the applicant to speak first. So that brings me right to, is Sherry or Jeff Patton here this evening? Okay, no need to stand up at this point. But I would like, when we get to the public comment, I would like them to speak first, followed by anybody else that has a public comment. At that point, we then will have the planning commissioners ask any particular questions that they have of the applicant. You okay? What's that? That step? Yes. You're okay, sir? Okay. Okay, then at the, so as I was saying, after the applicant speaks, and others that might have comments on this particular item, planning commissioners will have an opportunity to ask questions of the applicant. From there, we would move towards an order, or a motion, and then we would have a vote. So that is our process. And I would just like to spell that out so everybody is familiar with the process. So with that, I'd like to ask staff if they would like to briefly report on the item.
Good evening, Chair Hyatt and Commissioners. My name is Laura Stewart. I am your Associate Planner with the City of Auburn, and I'm presenting the staff report for item 4A on the agenda, a request for Planning Commission approval of an administrative permit to allow for an increased, increased fence height within the required street side yard setback of 865 El Oro Drive. Code enforcement received a complaint of tall vegetation and an oversized fence built within the street side yard of 865 El Oro Drive, creating a blind corner and blocking the view of motorists. On June 6th, 2025, the property owners of 865 El Oro submitted an administrative permit application to allow for the 3 8-foot wide fence panels in the required 12.5-foot street side yard setback. The property is a single-family residence located within the R1 zoning district. Staff reviewed the application And per the zoning code district regulations, the minimum yard required in the front of the residence is 20 feet, and the minimum yard required in the street side yard is 12.5 feet. The fence panels as built are not located within the front yard setback. However, the panels are located within the required side yard, where the maximum fence height allowed is 3 feet. Per Auburn Municipal Code 159.264G, a fence may exceed the height limits and/or fence type standards provided an administrative permit is first approved, subject to the provisions of 159.476 administrative permits. A notice of application was mailed to the owners of the abutting properties and the property directly across the street on September 17th. And 2 objections were received within the allotted 10-day period. See the letters of opposition and attachment B of the staff report. The concerns noted included blocked visibility of motorists on the corner and the excessive height of the fence and a lack of aesthetic consistency with the surrounding area. Pursuant to Auburn Municipal Code 159.476, if opposition to the application is received, the permit shall be denied, and the applicant may elect to appeal to the Planning Commission. The owners of 865 El Oro Drive were notified of the denial and elected to appeal to the Planning Commission. See the applicant's appeal statement and attachment C of the staff report. The building department reviewed the application and determined a building permit is required for the fence panels due to the height exceeding 7 feet. Public Works conducted multiple site visits and determined the placement of the fence panels as built meet the site distance requirements and do not constitute a traffic hazard. Public Works measured the height of the fence panels from grade to the topmost point to be 8 feet. Current street view photos of the property are included in the staff report. The property owners are in attendance and prepared to answer any questions of the commission, and I am also happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Thank you for your report, Laura. I appreciate it. So with that, do we have questions of commissioners for staff?
The height of the fence requires an approved administrative permit. Yes. I think the applicant can speak.
I think that might be a question for the applicant.
Commissioner Lindberg, we allow administrative permits for fence heights, anything over the 3 feet in a side setback. That's in our ordinance. So the reason why it's here tonight for, in front of you as an appeal is because anytime we receive an opposition during our administrative hearing process, we have to deny it at staff level, and then the applicant has that opportunity. So it's an allowed path of approval in our ordinance. That's why we're here. You know, it's anything over 3 feet, but again, it would have, anything over 7 feet has to go through the building department, and then there may be requirements for engineering. So that would be a building code.
Staff?
When it was submitted through the administrative permit, it met the requirements for us to go ahead and notify the neighbors. So we did our due diligence, we made the findings, it was a complete application. But because we received opposition, it stops the approval. Mhm.
Well, let's allow other commissioners, i.e. myself, to ask a couple of questions as well, please. Did you have further questions, Commissioner Lindberg? Okay, fair enough. So my question, and I actually had one question, then one statement, but my question is what month was the fence built? I realize that there was an application in June, and it looks like neighbors supplied some information in September. So there was a period of time there, but what month was the fence built? And does staff happen to know that, or should I save that question for the applicant?
I do not. I think the applicant.
Fair
can
enough.
speak on
That's
that.
fair enough. The other thing I wanted to comment on is just wanted to reiterate something that Laura already stated, and that is that Public Works staff did go out to the site and look at the fence from a site distance point of view, meaning can people travel around the curve safely without their site being blocked by the fence? And Public Works concluded that it was not a site distance issue, regardless of whether it's a 6-foot fence or a 7-foot fence or an 8-foot fence, what have you, that you could see. So those are my only questions. I will save my first question for the applicant. And with that, let's go ahead and let's move over to public comment. And I would like Sherry or Jeff Patton to go ahead and approach the podium and make comments. I'm assuming you have comments.
Thank you, commissioners. I appreciate your time and appreciate your consideration. I did present a package that I felt like, and I actually have to appreciate staff because I know Laura had to put a report together, and I've had to do that for public comments before as well, and it's a lot of work. So anyway, thank you for that. But I think I really would like to reserve most of my comments for questions, but I do think it probably worth pointing out that it is my understanding that had there not been public objection, the administrative permit would have been approved as it was submitted.
Correct.
And I also feel like, given that public objection, the Public Works Department has come out and said there aren't sightline restrictions. It's not a traffic issue, which is a large component of the objections. So anyway, I just put that out for consideration. I also put out consideration, I bulleted these in my response. When we bought that property 10 years ago, that whole corner and that street was lined with bushes and trees, which at the front, you couldn't see around the corner. There was a large grouping of bushes out there that we've completely cleared out, and now that's actually bark at street level. So actually, we've improved the sight lines as opposed to degraded them. And in doing so, we have a window in our living room, a double door that actually is right on the setback at 12.5 feet. And it happens to look out at the street and the mailbox and whatnot. So for us, it was just logical to say, you know what, we'd like to kind of restore that. It's not I say it's not a fence. It's a privacy screen. It is 24 feet long, but it's there for an intention. When we designed it, I very specifically looked at the heights so that if I was at the mailboxes and places across the street, the sight lines were obstructed. I didn't get all of them, but it took care of most of it. So we can sit in our living room and we can have the drapes open, look outside at something that we think is appealing, which does bring me to the second point, which I think some folks are not happy with the aesthetics of it. I worked very hard, frankly, and not everybody has to like what we all like, but I worked very hard to create something that I felt fit in our community and would be a great fit and an asset to our property. So I think that's really my summary of it. It was that's it. And so I'll save the rest of my comments for questions.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, are there others that would like to comment on this during the public comment period of this particular item? Please state your name, your address, and then your comment, please.
What is there, 3 commissioners here?
Yes, correct.
I give one to staff too.
Thank you, sir.
It's hard to describe it when you don't see it in front of you. I live in the house right next door. If you look at the first picture there, he's in the corner. I'm the next one. If you turn to the next page, that's where I start my backup into the road, which, as you can see, there's no clear shot in that corner. 5, 6 feet back again, with the fence, you can see between the 2 trees still block the whole corner. And then once you get out into the street, backing up, it's still, you can see the fence way out in front of the house. If you look at it, the application, it shows the fence even with the front of the house, not out where it is. If you go to the last page there, that's not my picture, that's Google, but it shows you got a whole panel almost in front of the house blocking it. I've been hit, almost hit several times trying to back up. And all I want is, you know, we've got ordinance and stuff, 3 feet. They say that's how it was worse when they moved in. Let me see, I got an old picture of how it was. I hate to say I only got, you could see from my truck all the way through the corner. That's on Google, that's not mine. Oops. So with that said, all I want is, if you look at it where I can see through, not all the plants have to come out or the tree and stuff, but having that fence past the first panel past the house, maybe putting that in back when it blocks the windows on the side of the house. The evergreen tree, you know, they just planted that, I know, not that long ago. But if those 2 things could happen, I don't care if it's 12 feet high, you know, behind the house from the front, but it's got to be safe. I mean, backing out, you know. What would I like to see is the replacement of that evergreen tree.
That's exactly right, Commissioner Lumberg.
Well,
Correct. This is about the fencing.
I have talked about both with the city all along. I can get emails with them.
This resolution is to either deny or to adopt an administrative permit allowing for an increased fence height only. Commissioner Lumber is exactly right. We're not here to talk about trees
Yes,
or
the
bushes.
first would be the fence would help. And then the other would be the tree, even though I've been discussing from day one about both.
So a question to you, and then I'd like to go back and ask the applicant questions as well. But you say that you've been hit, almost hit several times.
Yes, near my driveway.
Right. Your statement in your letter says twice. Now you're saying several, so
Well,
that's more.
I
But
started this.
if I can finish, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I'd like to point that out. One of the things that's also important is Auburn PD does keep records of any accidents and that sort of thing. And so if it is a problem area, have you reported this to Auburn PD?
That's where I started.
I see, okay.
I
that's good.
started this about in, I think, April.
So you reported to Auburn PD?
I went
in
to
a- in a near
Auburn
accident.
PD.
Thank you. That's good.
And that's where I guess they go to the planning or the building. I'm not sure how it all in the city goes.
Okay,
I believe Auburn PD, you went through code enforcement?
Yes.
Yes.
okay. And then so it sounds like the end result there is code enforcement went out and they looked, i.e. Public Works looked at it. And we've already stated that Public Works has determined that this is not a site distance issue. So
Well-
you've done what you can do in that area.
Well, the code officer said it had to be down to 3 feet. Then it went to planning, I was
Right.
told. Planning assigned it to transportation, and they went out.
Okay,
Now, looking at these pictures, how they did not come up with, if you can see through that area, I don't understand that. That's why I made the pictures.
Yes.
okay. While you're at the podium, are there questions of other commissioners and I'm sorry, I didn't get your name, sir.
Oh, Fred Weisgerber, 875 El
Fred?
Oro Drive.
Fred Weisberger?
Weisgerber, Weisgerber.
Thank you. Are there any other commissioners that have questions of Mr. Weisberger?
Is there a specific solution to this that would satisfy the both of you in terms of, well, you're neighbors, so you need to get along? Is there anything the applicant can do other than remove their fence?
Oh, I'm not saying remove the whole fence.
Mhm.
I'm saying that first panel from the house out that blocks that view through that area. Just one panel.
So if that was moved to say the other side,
And
This
you
would
just put it
solve
on
it.
the other side and you still got your, what do you want to call it, your
screen.
screen.
All right, let's put that on hold for a minute. I honestly, I have to concur with Public Works. I don't see anything in these photographs that suggests anything remotely resembling a traffic hazard or a view obstruction for oncoming vehicles. Now, I haven't gone in your driveway and pulled out, but honestly, this is wide open streets right here. I don't think there's a case for a safety problem. I think the debate has to be more about you two coming to a mutually agreed upon resolution about what to do here.
Okay. Commissioner Hobbs, questions? Okay. I did have just the one question for the applicant. When was the fence built? What month?
Post went up.
24?
Yeah, I spent back.
And
That's when finished.
finished, would you say in when?
I think it was completed in November.
November of 2024. Okay, fair enough, thank you. So if commissioners did not have any further questions of the applicant or of Mr. Weinsberger, I'd like to make some comments. And that is, I too agree with Public Works and with Commissioner Lemberg. I too have been out to the site and I do not see any kind of a site distance issue at all. My background is transportation engineering, so I do know a little bit about this. So I don't see a site distance problem. I think it's also interesting to note that this fence was completed in November of 24, and there was really no written objection at all until sometime this year. That seems kind of odd. But I think the most important thing in my mind is I don't see it as a site distance problem. I do not have a problem in moving forward with a motion to adopt the approval of the administrative permit. My personal opinion. Yes, yes, Mr. Patton. Excuse me? Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. My mistake. Other public comments. Thank you. Yes. Sorry about that.
Chairman, Commissioners, my name's Neil Riddlestorff. I live at 862 El Oro. We've owned that home since 2014. It was, I think, early September, I got a letter from the county asking them, well, my thoughts about the fence. Well, I never really thought it was a great idea, so I told them what I thought about it. And then I got another letter, which, if I have enough time at the end, it left me kind of perplexed on what is going on. So, and I'm going to be in trouble with this, but I totally disagree that this is not a site distance problem. So, I'm a registered civil engineer. I worked for Public Works, Sacramento County, about 33 years. Currently, I work for Yuba County for over 20, and I've been involved in all sorts of these visibility things. And maybe the reason we're Public Works and yourself don't think it's a problem is you're not looking at it in the light. These visibility triangles and stuff are for, like, if you have like an intersection, you come up and you're stopped, you look. Okay, it's okay. But this, you don't stop. If you're on El Oro going south, and then if somebody else is on El Oro going east, there's a moment in time where that last panel, like Fred was alluding to, it's in the way. So if the two cars are coming there, they hit there. That one's right there where you see them, just barely, and you're going this way. And if you're doing the speed limit, and they're both doing the speed limit, and you see each other at the exact same time, you're going to end up either sideswiping or hitting each other. But anyway, so much. I guess I'm not going to agree with you folks on visibility.
You're talking about the momentary horizontal site distance restrictions.
Yeah.
I got it.
So, and you spoiled my whole day when I came out here, because I thought this was going to be a done deal, because I read your last minutes from, and you said it's about the CCNRs, because the CCNRs clearly say no fence over 6 foot. So I thought, based on what I was seeing heard last time, this is not going to be permitted. But anyway, going on. I won't take more than 3 minutes, I hope. This is like a residential area, right? You look around, you don't see any 6 foot or 8 foot fences. If you're walking on that sidewalk, it slopes up. Holy mackerel, that is just way too high. It's crazy. And so I take a lot of walks. I ride the bike, and you go by at evening, it's kind of darkish, and you see a big panel fence there. You just wonder if what could be lurking there. It's not safe. And I understand if somebody doesn't want to be looking out and seeing the street or whatever, or if they're worried about privacy, they could, on those windows, they could put protective film that the people out walking, they cannot see in. I don't see the need for that. And also, if your privacy, I did some three random traffic counts, 1 hour each. One of those had 0 cars. 2 other times had 1 each. It's crazy. And so we have a fence 8 foot tall. I would, if you want to do research or whatever, 8 foot tall fence. It's not a fence. It's a structure. But if you do consider it a fence, good, I did a little research on engineering recommendations for fence. These fence posts should be 6 by 6. What we have here is like 4 by something. But I guess if it gets to farther along the line, your Public Works building inspection will do that. And also, okay, this really threw me. It talks about this, the CEQA, California Environmental Quality Act. And one of the letters I got, the second one, referenced infill project. This is not an infill project. An infill project, like if you have curb gutter and then no curb gutter, then you put that all in. That's infill. But also it mentions a section 15.322 and 15.301. These totally do not apply. I don't. It doesn't apply to this at all. So that kind of threw me off. What are we saying here? Anyway, you can see
It's me.
that I'm kind of not the best speaker. But anyway,
Okay.
I totally. Oh, okay. So another thing.
Let's try and wrap it up if you could, please.
One more thing, please.
Thank you.
Okay. So constructive notice. So this commission's been put aware that there are people concerned about the visibility. So has this been run past your city attorney? Like if something does happen and this has been on record, is he going to be happy about that? Okay, I'm done. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
I say,
No need to.
okay, thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, we've heard a lot of different comments. Did either of the commissioners have questions at this point or comments?
Would you be interested? We granted. Would you be interested in negotiating?
I'm not sure what that would be, particularly based on, I mean, I really have comments to make on just about every
Yes.
comment that I've heard tonight. I also will point out, not that it matters that much, but I'm also a licensed civil engineer. But I don't think so based on the comments that I've heard this evening. I certainly would respond to any questions from you. The things like the panel sticking out, it's already been, Public Works did that. They showed that it doesn't, so I am more than happy to answer questions. I can't go through the laundry list of things that I just heard, but I certainly am willing to answer any questions that may have resonated with the commissioners to help clarify the issues from our perspective and what I think is a little maybe closer to reality.
Well, and not only that, but in your defense, I think you already prepared a very detailed response to the written comments that staff reached, a multi-page detailed response that I thought covered a lot of the issues.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for putting that together.
Thanks. That was my goal. Sure. So with that, if you have any questions of me, feel free, but otherwise, I don't think I have anything further to say.
Commissioner Hobbs, did you have questions, comments?
I don't have any questions. Like you, I was there and drove back and forth and in a variety of speeds, even parked my car down the street and walked around. I agree with the city. I don't see any issues.
Okay.
Then it's
So
Mr. Hyatt, I don't see any.
I think we're at a point where we are ready to make a motion. Would someone like to make a motion?
I can do that.
Certainly.
I move to adopt Resolution 2510, approving the administrative permit AP 2025-04, allowing for an increased fence height within the street side yard setback located at 865 El Oro Drive as presented.
Okay, and I will second that motion. Staff, would you take a roll call, please?
Chair Hyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Hobbs,
Yes.
Commissioner Lundberg.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You have a unanimous approval of your, the resolution 25-10. Congratulations. And thank you for all your hard work. As I commented earlier, your detailed response to comments was very nice. I appreciate it. Okay. Certainly. Okay, so that completes the public hearing process. And with that, we need to adjourn the Planning Commission and then reconvene as the HDRC or the Planning Commission and HDRC combined. I might comment, it's 7:15. I would imagine that the economic development reports and then the presentations could take some time. I would suggest that we go through the economic development reports, and then if we need a quick 2-minute, 5-minute recess to use the facilities, we come back after that. Agreed? Okay. Okay, so with that, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the Planning Commission meeting here at November 18th, 2025. Do I have a second? Okay, I think Planning Commission meeting is adjourned. And then we need to call to order the Planning Commission and HDRC, which is Historic Design Review Commission. And staff, if you could take a roll call of that, I would appreciate it.
Chair Hyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Hobbs,
Here.
Commissioner Lundberg.
Here.
Commissioner Eubank, Commissioner Costa.
Here.
And Commissioner Haswell.
Okay, thank you. And so that brings us to agenda item Roman numeral 5, and Economic Development Department reports. And Jonathan, I see that you are already at the podium, ready and anxious to give us some reports. So we are all ears.
Trying to be efficient, Chair, because I'm sure that most of these people aren't here for the Economic Development Report. Anyway, Jonathan Wright, Economic Development Director. Good evening, all. Just a quick update on things that are going on around town and the things I'm working on. This is not one of the things I'm working on, but I'm very proud to say that the Oak House Steakhouse is open, and I've heard very good things. And just reach out.
Open?
The Oak House Steakhouse.
Oh.
That's in Auburn. It's actually right down the street. It's where the old Tap and Vine used to be in the White House. So, yes, so that it's on the second story there. They opened this weekend. They had a soft opening last week, opened this weekend to reservations and walk-ins, and are very happy about the response that they've gotten. So it's our first steakhouse in a while. Be interested to check it out myself. So just want to throw out a plug for them. Reached out today and they said they already have reservations all the way to Christmas. So yeah, it's really something. So also in Old Town, Station A was open this weekend. A soft opening for the new, I guess you call it, Welcome Center for Old Town, which the old post office is now being repurposed. That repurposing includes some of the people that'll be there are docents, are historic docents, and people that'll be giving information to those that come about the region, about the area, and about Station A. So it's not going to be reopened as a post office, at least not at this time, but it's serving a new purpose as an education center and standing there as a welcome area for those who come to visit. Oh, moving on. Yeah, entertainment zones. Last time I spoke to you, I talked a little bit about entertainment zones. We went over the ordinance, got that presentation. I won't wax too long on that. I will say that we are moving now into the implementation phase. We are trying to identify at least short-term markings for the street section. So for those of you who don't know, entertainment zones were adopted by the city council and are going to go into effect on October 26th. There's one in Old Town and one in downtown. It basically allows for alcohol to be consumed on the streets within a certain designated area. The alcohol has to be sold by an ABC licensed establishment that would have normally an on-premise license, but with our ordinance, it allows them to sell in regulated cups so that law enforcement can tell if people are just partying in the streets or are actually part of the actual zone. So these will be kind of the branded cups that are coming out. They'll be paired with a stamp that'll then be issued by whoever if it's, let's just say for instance, the Auburn Ale House, they went there, they would have their ID check, they would receive a stamp. When they purchase their beverage, it would be in one of these branded cups. So when law enforcement's walking around looking, if somebody has a cup but no stamp or has a random cup, they're not obviously participating correctly in this exercise we have going. The other thing is we now have markings that'll be going down the streets beforehand, identifying the end of the zones. It's very important for people not to wander outside. One of the things I spent a lot of today doing was actually an informational packet for bartenders and servers and so forth that will help them inform the public, because we put a lot of this onus on a permit process that requires the businesses to actually help out with both education, cleanup, and the responsibility for telling people and making sure that people aren't wandering where they're not supposed to be. I don't picture this being a party in the streets as it rolls out. What I see a lot of people doing is this, for example, going to the station public house, having dinner, purchasing a beverage, and then walking down, shopping at Roper's Jewelers, going down the hill there. The entertainment zone in downtown starts at the station and goes all the way to the State Theater, which we discussed tonight. So we did that so that when the State Theater gets reestablished and they have events, they can take advantage of it as well. It is only Monday through Sunday. And so it's during certain hours. If any events occur outside of those, they have to still get an event permit. They still have to get their own ABC license. If somebody wanted to, let's say the chamber wanted to deviate from the hours here because they had a different event, that would be through an event permit with their own ABC license. This is established. It is a temporary, I won't say temporary, it is it's a test. We're trying to see how it goes. Working with the police chief, we put a lot of sidebars in there and provisions that allow us to rescind licenses for individual businesses. We have the power to shut down the entertainment zone should we need to. And we have a provision there that we're going to revisit it periodically to look at what's working, what's not. If we run into issues, we have the ability to rescind the ordinance, revise it, which I actually am going to come probably in April to the city council with a revised ordinance, because there's a piece that I forgot to put in there about the licensing, not about the operation. So.
You said that's April, goes to city council?
It'll come back probably in April with a revised ordinance. The current one stands and we're going to go forward with it. Like I said, the 26th is when it goes into effect. We should have everything in place to start accepting, permits at that point. And then once the first, so the actual first day of being open would be the 28th, which is the day after Thanksgiving. So the 28th into, by the way, the 29th is Small Business Saturday. So you can enjoy it during Small Business Saturday. So this weekend will be that weekend will be the first one. It rolls out and then it'll be every weekend after that. One last thing is we're still working on the cannabis license or the cannabis ordinance and figuring that out. There's been inquiry by some of the planning commission members. We did reach out, offer a tour to Grass Valley, just like we did with the city council, which was hosted this week, and had a couple of members from the planning commission go through Provisions, which is a dispensary up in Grass Valley. And then they had the opportunity to talk to the police chief, which is very similar to what the city council did, to answer questions. Right now, we're in the environmental review process, which should end at the end of the year. The planning commission might see a draft ordinance coming forward at the end of January. So keep that in mind.
Thank you.
And I will wax no further.
Thank you for your report. Sorry, I'm still writing. Okay. Did any commissioners have questions of Jonathan Wright? Okay.
You said Friday through Sunday.
Oh, I'm sorry. Friday through Sunday.
And then
I don't know. Some of the people in here saw me this morning at 7 a.m. at Medler's, so this day has been pretty long.
any update on the
Sure. The vault is, they're scheduled to open before the end of the year, and they actually have a scheduled soft opening on November 11th for a private party. So we'll see how it goes.
Oh, great.
They've been spending a lot of effort. You'll see more vehicles out there lately because they've actually,
seeing the progress? I just Curious if they were getting close.
Yeah, they've been hiring more people to come in and actually do more of the manual labor. The owner was trying to do a lot of it himself. He's realizing that it's taking a bit longer. So they do have kitchen equipment that's been going in. The bar is established in there. They have a lot of the games. They're working on the floors, which they're shuffling things around. So it's coming together.
Backstory.
Hmm? Certainly will. But you know, normally like Festival of Lights, I think the chamber actually gets an ABC license and sells. So it's no, I mean, a lot of it's not the weekend activity is not different than a lot of the things that already occur here. So we're just making it easier for those folks to benefit from it that have, you know, businesses adjacent and, you know, the people that want to come here and do something unique, because in a lot of cities are doing this. They're doing the entertainment zones, but they're doing it on it's an event permit basis. So when they have the event permit, it automatically applies. We said we have events just about every weekend, so we're just going to do this thing during the weekend and see what happens.
So is that right? The Festival of Lights, there is an ABC permit to carry alcohol up and down the length of the parade route? Or
Anytime.
only within the entertainment zone that you're talking about?
Well, they would be able to do it within the entertainment zone currently. Previously, they'd have to have, somebody would have to get with the chamber, probably get an ABC license, and they would set the parameters and go through that whole process. There you go.
Example, in Old Town, when we do the co-op events and things like that, street events, we would pull an ABC permit. We had to submit a map, you know, the actual event parameters. And then during the event, you could purchase alcohol from event vendors and drink the alcohol on the street as long as in the parameters that have been established. And
Great, thank
so
you.
this is just kind of,
Yeah, and the districts in the chamber can still do that should they wish to also sell as well. So.
Do other commissioners have questions, Jonathan? No? Thank you for your report. Okay. Are we good to keep going? Okay. So that brings us to presentations. Our first presentation tonight is an informational update from Barry Miller on the Auburn 2024 General Plan. This is for information only. There's no authoritative action that's going to be taken at this tonight. After or during, maybe after your presentation, if commissioners have questions or comments, we can take those. If the public has comments on the general items, not specific parcels, we could take those as well. Okay, Barry, thank you for being here and
Great,
presenting.
thanks. Thanks for having me, and good evening, commissioners and members of the public. I'm Barry Miller, the consulting project manager on the Auburn General Plan update. We thought it would be a good idea to check in with the commission on the progress that we're making on the update, given the interest in the community, not just on that specific site, but on sites all over Auburn. And on the fact that in a couple of months, we're going to be presenting you with the first general plan that the city has seen in 34 years. So it's a big deal. You'll also get an EIR, and I'll say that the state of an EIR in 2026 is very different than it was almost 30 years ago when that, or more than 30 years ago when that last EIR was considered for the general plan update. So the reason for this meeting this evening is to give you this progress report, the opportunity for public comment, which thank you for providing that opportunity at the front part of the meeting for parcel specific comments. And as you said, if there are comments on policies, actions and goals and such, we can take those as well. It's an opportunity to review some of what's in the plan, but at a very high level. So this is not really the roll up your sleeves and go through each line meeting. It's really more, where are we in the process and what's to come? If the commission has questions on the general plan, we can respond to those. We also have a public meeting coming up, a community meeting, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in this presentation. So the commission is aware of this, but for members of the public, what is it that we're talking about? What is a general plan? So this is a document that's required of every city, town, and county in the state of California. It's actually been required for nearly 90 years that every city and county in the state has to have a plan for how they're going to grow and change in the future. It's focused on the physical environment. So this is not really about our budget, although indirectly it affects our budget. This is a plan for how the city is going to grow and change and conserve. And it's a 20-year horizon. So we're looking now at the year 2045. I'll add that the plan that was adopted in 1993 was looking to the future as 2010. So that horizon year is 15 years ago. Not to say the city's been operating without a plan, it's just been operating with a plan that's very out of date and that envisioned a future that's already history. So once the plan is adopted, it's the basis for all of our zoning regulations, our capital improvement program, other plans and programs in the city. The general plan covers everything within the city limits, but it also covers an unincorporated, what we call sphere of influence and planning area that extends way beyond the city of Auburn. Our planning area goes all the way up to Dry Creek Road on the north side. So it includes a large area of North Auburn and Bowman that is developed, as well as areas in the unincorporated part of Placer County that are undeveloped, where the county has land use authority, but we have an opportunity to weigh in and express our views about what should happen in those areas and potentially talk about annexing all or part of those areas in the future. The plan may be periodically amended. That's important because once this is adopted, it is not set in stone for 20 years. Under state law, you can amend the general plan 4 times a year. It's also subject to the California Environmental Quality Act, meaning we have to do a full environmental impact report for this project. And the current plan is outdated. I don't need to go into the reasons why we're doing a plan update. I think we have a slide that shows what was going on in 1993, and clearly we're in a different world. So the process that we've gone through to get to this point, this is sort of our sequence of planning tasks, starting with reconnaissance in October 2023, which is when this started. So we're just going on a little over 2 years now. There was an audit of all of the existing plans and policies, both in the city and in unincorporated Placer County. We came up with a set of guiding principles. There are 12 guiding principles that are kind of the core values for what we want to see in Auburn over the next 20 years. And then a lot of data collection. And I've got another slide coming up that goes a little bit more into that. Development of our new land use map. And again, there are slides coming up that correspond to these topic areas, so I won't dwell on these. But basically, throughout all of these tasks, we've had a community engagement program that's been running, and we've also been working extensively with Placer County. I will add that more than 2/3 of the planning area, the area covered by this plan, is in the county. So our coordination with them is really an important part of this process, and it's been ongoing. They're updating their general plan too, so there's some synchronicity. Okay, so moving on, these are what we call the white papers. These are basically background reports on each of these topic areas. Many of these topics are elements of the general plan, and others are actually embedded in other chapters of the general plan. So each of these topic areas, if you go to the website that's linked here, auburn2045.org, and go to the resources page, you can go on and download these documents or look at them online. They're generally 50 to 75 pages, and they're a detailed overview of each of these topics with maps and tables and so forth. We needed to do this because the existing data is so old and so outdated. It really doesn't provide what we need to do an updated plan and an updated EIR. So that's been completed. Our engagement program, there's been a number of different activities, a number of different ways we've tried to both inform and involve the community and listen to what folks want and have to say. The project website, auburn2045.org, actually launched 2 years ago this month. We've been doing presentations throughout the process to our city council, to different boards and commissions, and to civic groups in Auburn. There was a resident survey about 1.5 years ago. We received 600 responses to that survey. And then there were 3 community workshops, and got a couple of pictures of some of those workshops on the next few slides. We also had a focus group, an ad hoc group that your chair, Steve Hyatt, was serving on. We also had representatives from the city council, other boards and commissions, including the sustainability committee represented. And that group met 14 times over the course of the project and gave us direction on policies and actions in the plan. And you'll see that direction in the agenda packet this evening. Pop-up events, you may have seen us at some of the street fairs and events that happened over summer 2024 and fall 2024, like September Fest, National Night Out, and so forth. And then the public hearings are to come, so those will happen early next year. Workshop number 1, this was the Host Lions building at the fairgrounds. We asked people to pretend they were mayor for the day and then time travel to the year 2045 and tell us what Auburn was like in that year and what they hoped to see. Workshop number 2, we developed a board game called Which Way Auburn, which really looked at how the city might grow and change and looking at different areas, and had these tables set up around the room for different areas of the city. This was right here in the Rose Room below where we're standing now. And workshop number 3 is coming up. So these are from the pop-up workshops, and it's a picture of our focus group on the bottom right, but these are some of the ways we've tried to engage folks. Okay, moving on to the elements of the general plan. So the document is organized into these chapters, which are called elements. If you see bold on the screen, that means that the content is required by state law. So on the left, you see the chapters of the 1993 plan. And on the right, you see the chapters of the new general plan, which is being written now in draft form. So many of the topic areas are carried forward, though the content is mostly new. There are a couple of new elements I want to call your attention to. We're adding an arts and culture element to the general plan, and we are adding a community services and facilities element to the general plan. Both of these recognize topics that through our engagement process, we learned were immensely important to Auburn residents and businesses, to our character as a community, to our economy, and to our well-being as a city, to the quality of life. So the community and services and facilities looks at infrastructure and public facilities and services like police and fire and so forth. The other topic areas are largely the same. Economic became economic development, but I will say that the contents are way more robust and thorough in this plan than in the previous plan. So in each of these elements, you find these statements, goals, which are the big picture. What do we want to see? You know, we want clean air, we want clean water, we want safe streets, we want better conditions for cycling and walking. Those are goals. Policies, how are we going to get there? How are we going to achieve those goals? What are the kind of parameters for making decisions? And then actions. So the actions are the specific steps that are going to be taken after the general plan is adopted. Think of it as something that can be assigned to a department at the city and has a cost associated with it and a timeline. So there are a lot of actions in this document, and we're going to need to do some prioritization, and that's part of what the next workshop will be about. So in terms of what's in the plan itself, there are some new sections I want to call your attention to. The framework and guiding principles really puts Auburn in perspective. Like, it's been a while since we've done a plan. How is the city different? What are the forces driving change in the city? Technology is changing. Our demographics are changing. Our economy is changing. Our environment is changing. How is that going to affect how we make decisions as a city over the next 20 years? So that's a chapter of the plan that really sets the stage for the other chapters. The safety element and the housing element, those were both updated in 2021 because state law said we had to update those documents. They're separate standalone documents that are outside the general plan. So we're not updating those as part of this process. The housing element will be updated again in about 4 years, and the safety element will be amended as needed. But we're certainly considering those issues as core issues to the other elements of the plan that we're addressing. There's a greater focus on community design in this document. There was really nothing in the old general plan about design. public space, street trees, things like that. So there's a lot of that in this plan. I mentioned the 2 new elements. We are now required by state law to include an environmental justice element in our general plan. We've met that requirement by including those policies in different sections of the plan, but there is a guide as to where those topics are covered in the document. So these are some of the areas where there's more focus in this plan than on prior plans for Auburn. And I'll even add here that the plan that was done 30-something years ago was not the first general plan. You can go back to the 1950s and 60s and find plans for Auburn that were 8 pages long. Our current plan is much longer, will be much longer than that. I mean, part of that is driven by state requirements. We have a vast number of statutes we need to comply with here, and there's been a lot added to what's in a plan. You'll see more focus on economic growth and fiscal sustainability. How can we survive as a city, given the way our real estate and development picture is looking as we look 20 years in the future? What do we need to do to make sure we have the revenue and the tax base to be a sustainable city? Our downtown and old town areas, which we've heard over this project, have a lot of vacancy, a lot of areas that need rehabilitation. There's a lot of emphasis on that in the plan. Creating opportunities for mixed use development where people can live, work, shop, and play in the same place. Resource conservation and sustainability, much bigger in this plan and in prior plans. Providing workforce housing so that our workers don't have to commute long distances to places where it's more affordable to live. Looking at wildfire hazards and how that affects the way we develop and grow our city, planning for evacuation and so forth. Creating opportunities for transit-oriented development where we have transit infrastructure like our rail station. And there's a separate planning effort for the domes, county domes property going on. Reducing vehicle miles traveled, or VMT, and greenhouse gas emissions, and then creating a more balanced transportation system. So one thing also about the plan is that we're a little less ambitious in terms of how much growth we think is going to happen in Auburn. Plans in the 1960s forecast a population of 150,000 people in Auburn by the turn of the century. And by that, I mean the century we're in now. So 25 years ago, that clearly didn't happen. Even the most recent plan for the city envisioned 54,000 people living in what we call the Auburn planning area. So the current forecasts are looking more at a much more modest increase in population and employment, with about a 20% increase over current levels in the next 20 years. Our primary areas of growth are downtown, the Baltimore Ravine Specific Plan area, which is in southwest Auburn, the train station area in northwest Auburn, particularly along Nevada Street, the Highway 49 corridor, what we call Upper Lincoln Way. That's the unincorporated part of Lincoln Way as you leave Auburn and head up towards Bowman, the Bowman area, and then the industrial properties around the airport, which unfortunately are mostly outside the city limits. We have updated the land use map as part of this process, and many of the changes on the map I would describe as housekeeping changes. They're to reflect changes that have happened in the city over the last 32 years, incorporating some of the current plans and policies, incorporating all of the county plans and policies. We have some new categories on our land use map, and I'm happy to answer questions about this stuff. It tends to be a little bit wonky, but we can answer questions as we will after the presentation. Map changes to affect very high fire hazard areas, so that we don't want to be looking at high density housing sites in areas that are rated by CAL FIRE as having very high fire hazard areas or evacuation limits. Again, I mentioned focusing on fiscal stability, really trying to respond in earnest to our housing needs, and importantly, ensuring the long-term functionality and safety of our airport. Again, a challenge when most of that area is out of our jurisdiction, but this is where working with the county is really critical. So I won't go into details on this. It's really just to show on the left-hand side in that sort of yellowish green color are the land use categories in the current plan on the right-hand side are the corresponding categories on the new plan. It's 1-to-1 in most cases, but we're trying to match the county's general plan density so that we don't have 40 categories on the general plan map, which we, by the way, we do now because the county has a whole network of categories, the city has a whole network of categories, and they are not compatible or the same. So we're trying to align the categories and also be more responsive and realistic to what is there. Just again, for the public's benefit, the land use map is on the project website. It is updated regularly as we get comments. There's also a series of what we call change maps, which show where the general plan designation is changing from the old general plan to the new general plan. And there's a table on each of those maps that indicates what the current designation is, the proposed designation, and why the change is being proposed. So I would encourage folks in the audience and folks who may be watching this online to go to auburn2045.org and check out the maps of general plan changes. We're also proposing an expansion of the city's sphere of influence. Right now, Auburn's sphere of influence, it's a little odd. It goes way north, almost 5 miles to Dry Creek Road. It does not go at all anywhere south of the city limits. So we're proposing a change in the sphere. I want to emphasize no changes in land use are being proposed in that area. We're not suggesting that that area be urban or part of the city. It is simply so that the city has a say in development applications that may be made by the county in those areas. We are also looking at annexation, and I want to emphasize that this is not the plan to annex unincorporated parts of Placer County, but it is a plan that sets the stage for future annexation in a way that's much more proactive than previous plans may have been. We're particularly looking at Upper Lincoln Way, Bowman, and the lower part of the Highway 49 corridor that's closest to the city, particularly given the opportunities that some of the vacant and underused sites on those corridor areas pose for revenue generating uses. The long-range goal, maybe I'll say that the 2065 goal is to connect the airport to the rest of the city so that it is one city all the way up. We're not expecting that. It's certainly not going to happen when the general plan is adopted, but it at least creates an expectation and maybe even a challenge to future leaders of the city to pursue something like that in the future. And I will add that a lot of what's driving that is fiscal necessity. The EIR for the general plan is being prepared now. It addresses all of the topic areas that are shown on the slide. And thank you to the speakers who spoke about the special status bird species and riparian areas earlier. That is covered in the EIR, but I want to emphasize at a programmatic level. So what that means is we're not looking at individual sites and individual sections of stream. It's at a 29 square mile area level. What is the effect over a 20-year period of these changes in land use? What that means is that future projects are still going to have to do environmental review to look at what's going on individual sites. So because there is not a development project associated with this, it's a citywide plan, the EIR is fairly high level. So you may not see the level of detail you would need to approve a specific project. Finally, the upcoming workshop. So we are having a community open house on December the 3rd. That's a Wednesday from 6 to 8 p.m. in the Placer High School cafeteria. The room will be set up in a series of interactive stations. One thing that's nice about this meeting is that we're not going to force you into a small group to discuss things with your neighbors. We are going to let you kind of go at your own pace around the room, visit a land use station, an economic development station, a transportation station, weigh in on some priorities for the future that are in the general plan. And there'll be a presentation at the beginning of the meeting, some Q&A with town hall style. And then, basically it's visit the stations and there'll be an activity that's going on at each station. The good news, there'll be prizes. There'll be tacos, free tacos. and there'll be live music. So we're going to try to make this a fun event and get as many folks as we can. It is in the high school, and we hope that some of our student body will be there. It's an opportunity for them to think about Auburn in 20 years. And our next steps, final slide, we have a timeline that's calling for release of our general plan in the winter of 2025-26. So probably about 3 or 4 months from now, there'll be a draft plan and draft EIR. There's a 45-day review for that EIR, and then we'll prepare responses to comments. And the final EIR, that will be coming back to the commission for public hearings next spring. What we would like to do is, before we bring you things to adopt, to have a study session or some sort of work session with you, so you have an opportunity to talk about what's in the plan when you have the whole document. And we'll do the same with the city council. So this document gets adopted by the city council on a recommendation from the planning commission. And I'm not sure how the Historic Design Review Commission is involved in that resolution, but we certainly want to engage you in the process as well. And I'll add, there's a lot of content on historic preservation in this general plan that was not in the previous general plan. Thanks very much for your time. Happy to answer questions and take comment.
Back on the previous slide there. So you mentioned 3 to 4 months from now is the DEIR would be released for
Right.
comment. And then there's a period of time where people can make comments to that. So it's probably about end of March is it going to be released, ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
Comments until when? End of April or no,
45 days.
So
Yes,
middle of May,
mid-April.
middle of May or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If it's,
And then you have how much time to respond to those comments?
it depends on the volume of comments. That's the big unknown in this process. It
Yeah.
could be 2 weeks and it could be 2 months. We hope that it's 2 weeks, but we don't know.
So when do you feel like you'll be coming back to the Planning Commission and HDSR for your next session?
We framed it as winter and spring because we don't know at this point what the exact
Okay.
months are going to be. So I would say in general, it'll be before June 21st.
Fair enough. No, I understand these things take a long time. Okay. So with that, I'd like to open it up to other commissioners. And since Jennifer's sitting immediately to my right, I'll let this group talk first. So Commissioner Costa, do you have any comments, questions?
Not so much on the presentation, but I did flip through the document that was provided. And so since I'm on HDRC, I'm going to focus on the historic. I know I've asked this in the past and I cannot remember, but I was reading the implementation actions and it says to seek grant funding to prepare an updated survey. I thought an updated survey was going to be completed as part of the EIR. Is that incorrect?
There is not budget for an updated historic survey.
Okay, so that leads to the second part, which is that basically individual projects are going to have to do the research to determine if their building is historic until we can get a grant funding to do a survey for ourselves to update our resources, correct?
Or you find some good volunteers, like in 1985 that they did.
Yes, but it clearly says here, a qualified per the Secretary of the Interior standards, architectural historian. So that's going to restrict your volunteer list. Okay, that was my primary question. Just
Okay.
trying to understand where that is, because that's, I think when things come before us, that's the biggest thing that I am always
Okay.
aware of. Just making sure we have our resources so we know if something comes before you, if it's historic.
Commissioner Eubank? No questions, comments? Commissioner Haswell?
Can I just remind the commissioners to turn your mic on so
There you go.
Can you
everyone
hear me
can-
now? Sorry. I was just going to say, I was really glad to see that you said that this plan has more of the historic and preservation elements than the 1993 plan, because on one of the slides, it looks like you took historic out and changed it to community design and preservation. And then on the new stuff, you just had community design and nothing about preservation and historical. So I was glad to see that.
Right, right. The community design content is new, but the preservation content is, beefed up from what it was.
Go ahead. Something.
Yeah, guess I'm being nitpicky. The term preservation, right, implies a certain thing under the Secretary of the Interior standards. So I don't know if that's what we really want to say. Maybe we want to look at a different term, because historic can be encompassing of more of those, because there's 4 elements of the Secretary of the Interior standards. Preservation is one of the 4. So you've narrowed yourself down to that. So maybe a recommendation to look at different terminology.
Okay, Commissioner Hobbs. No comments? Commissioner Lundberg.
Yes, thanks. Hi, Barry.
Hey.
Thanks for the presentation. In reviewing the document on the website, I was really pleased to see the way that the guiding principles were coming along in terms of priorities for policymaking. And I liked a lot of what those policies were turning into in terms of adopting a position, say, for instance, when it comes to historic architecture or community development or transportation. They're all going in a direction that I find really current and appropriate. As far as speaking from the sustainability side of things, saw a lot of really great content there. From the Planning Commission side of things, my focus, of course, is on the effort that went into the form-based code, which, as you know, was something that was undertaken prior to the general plan development. And a lot of work went into that. That document, I believe, captures a great deal of what those guiding principles are all about. And all the action items could be encompassed, are already encompassed in the form-based code. I think what I would like to see, if I could, is more prominence given to that document. All I could really see right now is that it was somewhat of a bullet point in the action items for community development, along with a bunch of other bullet points, which basically reiterated what the form-based code was all about. Because all those action items need a guideline document, and that form-based code is that guideline document. It is the vehicle to implement those policies. So I think it should be more than, say, a bullet point in the document. It should be, I would put it, it definitely deserves its own chapter. It's a very big part of the downtown, Old Town revitalization, and I think it stands as a model for future development for the rest of the city. I think it should be much more prominent in the general plan document. And not only given the word consider, the word consider kind of bothered me, honestly. The bullet point says, consider the adoption of a form-based code. I thought all we were doing is waiting for the general plan to be wrapped up before the form-based code was fully implemented. Not a consideration, quote unquote, but will be adopted as an action item.
Yeah, I can respond to that, and you guys may want to as well, but the form-based, I should have mentioned this in my presentation, the EIR is going to provide the CEQA clearance for the form-based code. So one of the reasons you haven't seen that before you yet is because we're doing the environmental review as part of the general plan update. So the intent is to bring the form-based code forward with the general plan. So you're going to be getting both. And part of the reason that you may not see the form-based code as high profile is because it's being adopted at the same time as the general plan. But I get your point to create that framework, and we'll make sure we do that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually had the same type of comment, and in many areas, words for, or encourage this, or it's soft, but I understand that, Barry, because it needs to give us flexibility over or up till 2025, over the next couple of decades. Most of my comments were smaller comments, and I will make those comments a written response, as we can all do. But most importantly, what I would like to do is I would like to emphasize to anybody that's here in the audience, I'd like to emphasize, please go out onto the website, the auburn2045.org/resources, or you can just go to auburn2045.org. Take a look at it. There is a whole bunch of information, including a lot of the information in the packet that we have before us tonight. I would encourage you all to go and take a look at that. And most importantly, don't miss the December 3rd, 2025 at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Placer High.
I think we have flyers in the room somewhere. Right.
Don't miss
Exactly.
that.
Gift certificates for local businesses. Those are, our prizes.
But thank you for all the work. And I've enjoyed working with you as this has gone along.
Great. Thank you.
So comments from the public in general. Please come to the podium, state your name, and make your comment.
Hi, Jackie House, 220 Hidden Creek Drive. So I've submitted a couple of comments with small details on some of the white papers, and I know city staff is looking at those and forwarding them on to you, Barry. But I did want to just mention one of the topics I covered in those comments, and that's with regard to naturally occurring asbestos. And there are a number of geologic formations in the city of Auburn and throughout the planning area that have been identified by the Placer County Resource Conservation, the Placer County Air Pollution Control District as likely to contain naturally occurring asbestos. And the Placer County Air Pollution Control District requires specific best management practices for enhanced dust mitigation for any projects or ground disturbance in those areas. And I'd like to suggest that the city consider including statements in the general plan to either reference the Placer County Air Pollution Control District maps and to, in the policies, add a statement regarding the need for best management practices to address dust control. So I know you may have seen this already in my written comment, but I wanted to reiterate it. Also, I have a question on the chart, Barry. The general plan will be published concurrent with the draft EIR for the general plan. And you talked about the 45-day review and comments on the EIR. Will there also be an opportunity to comment on the general plan itself at that time? Okay, thank you. And then I took a glance at the draft policy document. I agree with the commissioners who've had a chance to look that there's some great information and great policies laid out. I didn't see that yet on the Envision Auburn website. That will be posted on there. And then just one final question. If I did want to make a written comment on the draft policy document, can that be submitted to the general plan at auburn.ca? Got it. Thank you.
Sounds like you've got all your questions answered. Thank you.
Yeah.
There are other comments from the public? Great. Yes, go ahead, Barry.
I just wanted to quickly respond to Jackie's comment about the comments on the general plan. The only reason I didn't mention that before is that we don't have a time limit on the general plan comments. There's a 45-day review statutory limit for the EIR, but you can comment on the general plan until the day it's adopted. So we'll take comments on the general plan policies Right now, today, if you were to go on Auburn 2045, you won't see them. They'll be there tomorrow. We were going to wait till after this meeting. You can look at them on the Planning Commission agenda packet for this evening. So it's all posted online, but tomorrow it'll all be available on Auburn 2045.
And can you please repeat again for the public as to if they look at that draft policy document that they could see tomorrow, if they have comments, how they make comments?
Yes, there's a link on the website for submitting comments, and that goes, I don't remember the actual, you probably know the address, right? General plan at auburn.ca.gov. Yes. And yeah, if you go to Auburn 2045, that link is there and we get those comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I believe that concludes that particular item. I appreciate your presentation and your update on the Auburn 2045 general plan. With that, how is everybody doing, or do we need a bio break, or can we keep going? Okay, let's move forward then to the next presentation, which is the State Theater. And while they are coming to the podium, I'd just like to remind commissioners that this is an opportunity for us to hear an update on the State Theater. Staff has received, let's see, they've received a application for the first phase of work. An application for the first phase of the work, which I think we're going to hear about this evening. And but only that phase. And so once we hear this, I would like to open it up for public comment as well. But this evening, there is no action required on commissioners here this evening. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, commissioners, thank you. Staff for all your help. My name is Rod Tompkins. I'm president of RJT Construction and Consulting. I'm representing the Auburn State Theater. We've been involved in this since the collapse as consultant, project coordinator, and now the general contractor for the project. As we I've been here for 50 years, so we've all enjoyed the theater for a long time. Anyway, and there are a lot of comments I've heard tonight. I may add a few things. Let me see if I can go up or down on this. Yeah, there we go. Brief history. I'm not sure if everyone knows the theater was built in 1930. It was, you know, back in the WPA days, work project days. And it had 1,350 seats. Now, I know that's a lot for Auburn. So obviously, looking at the demographics, Auburn must have had a much larger population back then. But anyway, it also had a full balcony, which, you know, was amazing. And then there was offices at the front. Now, it had a very unique air conditioning system back then too. The ice through tunnels underneath the theater. In 1937, they brought in modern for the time, air conditioning, and they added a new marquee because they didn't have the marquee that you see today, which is somewhat replicated of what it was. And if everyone's not aware, in 1974, the balcony collapsed and the marquee came down. It was closed off and on and, you know, went severe damage to the theater. At that point, they started doing some reconstruction, 70s style. And I recognize that because I built a lot of buildings in the 70s. And was not anything, you know, a thought of historic preservation or any type of preservation of the Art Deco. It was just done in a new fashion. Now, in 1980, I don't know how many of y'all have lived through that long, but I used to take my kids to that dual theater. It was quite interesting. You could watch a movie here and listen to the one next door. And it was also, we have the mall effect that you've seen over the last years where they've had office space and that. And then in 2013, the board, the new board, and it was decided that they would tear down the wall. I know that was a big fundraising committee plan. They tore down the wall, and then we started having different entertainment and more entertainment options. They did a great job with trying to, bring in theater and different acts and that. And then it was going along and really, hitting its stride. And unfortunately, we were having all kinds of great shows come to town, and if we go, the following year was going to be even more. But in 2023, ceiling collapsed. And I'm sure that you've seen probably the pictures of that collapse. I know that Colleen has posted a monthly update on that. And at the time, there were a lot of pictures that were posted regarding the collapse of the ceiling. And unfortunately, the ceiling just collapsing was one thing, but it was discovered that the trusses had failed, similar to the balcony truss that failed many years previously. And at this point in time, a new discovery was made as we do our due diligence, and asbestos was found to be in some of the debris. And that meant that the ceiling, and that meant that everything in the theater had to be thrown away, bagged and tagged, as we would call it in the industry, and then disposed of properly. So that created an entirely new situation for the theater. And unfortunately, we had to get rid of the historic seats that were out of the Grauman's Chinese Theater. And then we had to clean everything, remove everything, and basically shut the theater completely down till we got a new clearance. And then once we got the clearance, we could do the structural investigation of how to repair the ceiling. And so then that came along in 2024. We found an engineer that had worked on the building previously, Point Two Engineering, Bill Larson, and engaged him. And then we also found a specialty company that does these trusses. And we came up with a new design, restored the trusses that are there, replaced the parts that needed to, also had to do the seismic upgrades. Now we worked with the city, and the city was very helpful in working with us inspections, because this is phase one, but it's actually for us as phase 4 of the project, because we had to do the abatement, we had to do the repairs, and then once we had the repairs done, and then the board said, well, we've been shut down long enough. And there was discussion with the cities about, our compliance and lack of compliance, because there was nothing in the theater that was compliance. The access to the theater, the restrooms, there was, it was 1970 construction, 1980. So at that point in time, the board decided to then let's see what we can do and improve it, and started an investigation as to what the community needs. Now, I appreciate the gentleman's presentation on the academic plan, because they went to the state of actually developing and hiring a company, a theater company, that did a feasibility study and got us to that point. So all along, we've been doing the homework, and the board and everything has been making decisions and working with the architect and engineers. And then we got to the point that, okay, what could we do with this building? This is always a concern with an old building. I have been involved in some. I did the courthouse, I did this building, and many others. But, what can we actually do with the structure? So then we did exploratory demolition, and again, with a permit, and brought in the architect, structural engineer. And then we came up with new design. And new design, I say, from the interior in addition. So this is a design looking forward, like your general plan. And the feasibility study addressed this as far as what you could do in the future. Now, this is the plan. As we're putting it together, we're going to go for a permit, submit for a building permit next month. We're going to increase the capacity to 428 seats. We're improving it. We're actually taking it back from the historic committee, might like this a little bit. We're taking it back and putting some of the Art Deco features in the design that were long since gone. You know, in the 70s and 80s, they didn't pay any attention to that. But in conjunction with the board and the architectural team, 1906, it used to be Williams and Patton. They're a firm here in Roseville and also in Santa Barbara. And so we're working with them. And then now we're going to have 428 seats. We're going to put a balcony back in. Now the balcony will be 94 seats, which is included in the 428. And then there's going to be removable seats so that the stage can be expanded. Everything is going to be ADA compliant. You're going to have ADA compliant restrooms, elevators, and your seating will now be in compliant for people that are attending the theater. It's going to have new state-of-the-art sound, lighting, and acoustical upgrades so that the acoustics will be like a theater. I don't know how many have been to the venue, but that's a very acoustically correct facility. I mean, it's fantastic. And we're working with people that have worked on that and also trying to develop this space so that any seat is going to be, you know, a great show. They're also going to develop that upper floor into event space as well as access to the balcony and for the theater, but it could be something that could rent out for event space in the future for people. We're improving with the addition, which is one of the things I know that we want to speak to you about, is performance spaces. Yeah, they had a green room, but it wasn't compliant. It wasn't, you know, that up to date. And the load in was all through the front door. So we're going to improve that.
Excuse me if
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with the term green room, and I read about that, but I'm not.
Green room, yeah. Green room is typical, you know, I think of the Tonight Show or something. They say, oh, they're back in the green room of the show. That's where the performers hang out prior to coming up to their performance. They socialize or they do their little rehearsal, get ready.
Okay, I get it. I
Yeah.
get it. Thank you.
Okay. And now we're going to have, it's going to be compliant. So people that maybe have a handicap or disability can actually get into the green room and use the facilities and dressing rooms. And one of the things that the theater has to deal with in bringing performance and these acts that we have been getting and future acts is the fact that they have certain writers, they're called, but, you know, certain requirements as to what they need to come. If you want to bring, you know, a big star into town that's touring around, a national touring act, they're going to have certain requirements. Theater did not meet those previously, but now it will be meeting most of those requirements, which means the entertainment for our community is going to be able to get improved. Now, oops, wrong way. This is obviously the site map, and I want to show this just because we're going to talk about the back of the house, which is that triangle piece at the back of the property. Now, the dark lines are the property lines as we know it and as the maps that are available show. And as you can see, there is very little space. It's a very tight site. Now, one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to impact some of the city facilities in the street, and this is the nuts and bolts. All right. We're going to bring in a fire sprinkler system. Now it's going to be seismic and structurally improved so that this theater can last another 50 or 100 years. There's going to be better exiting. We're enlarging doors. We're opening doors that haven't been open for 50 years. They've been blocked. And we're going to improve the storm drainage type, everything into the storm drainage system so that it's not running off on adjacent properties. So it'll just be an overall better facility. Now, this is where we're going to impact some of the city structure. And we have communicated with PCWA, and we're going to run new fire lines. So we are going to have to work with the city and Public Works and possibly Caltrans too on the access. So we will be at some point shutting down portions of the street and working with that. So you would see that in the beginning, as well as the city sidewalk. We're running in the new electrical lines as well as the storm drain and fire sprinklers. Now, just inside real quick, we're going to have an expandable stage. The main floor is going to have 331 seats. You're going to have new front of concessions as you walk in the doors. You face a new concession set up completely. Elevator, new ADA compliant, and you can see we've moved the entrance from where it was to where it was in the theater that collapsed in 2023 back to where it was in 1930. Now this is the second floor, and the second floor balcony is going to have 94 seats, and it's going to have a concessions bar as well, elevator, and then its own set of ADA compliant restrooms. Now this is kind of a vision of what it was going to look like. Colors are not set or any of that. And this is, basically an idea of what you're going to see on the interior. So it's preliminary renderings, and you can be able to, a stage view, a side view of what the theater is. We're going to put soffits back around the interior of the theater, because those were all destroyed, to get back to that look that it had previously. So that we're trying to keep the history that everyone knows here as to the interior design as well. Now let's talk about the back of the house. This is a little postage stamp triangle that's behind the theater as part of the theater property. It hasn't been used for anything other than people throwing trash in that. Here's a better blow up of it. At one point in time, that color area is a concrete slab that you see in that grayish area in the middle that housed equipment years ago. It's adjacent to the Local Heroes parking lot. And I'll show you some exterior photos here. Now, what this is going to do for us, it's going to add additional staging for the performers, handicap accessibility, and the improved and compliant green room now that will be up to code for current codes, or the code as it is right now. Just an exterior view. This is from the Local Heroes parking lot. You see the white truck, and behind that is the area that Local Heroes uses right now. They have a grease receptor there. And then this would be probably the biggest view that you will see, and I will show you in another slide, of that side of the building, which is the east face. Here's another close-up. This is what you see there now. That grease interceptor area would be relocated in Local Heroes parking lot. We have access. Mr. Azevedo has an agreement, provided access for the theater to use this for load in and out purposes. So this is the area that you're going to see in the profiles, where we're going to continue the building on. It's going to go out to the other building that's adjacent, that's vacant at the moment. Actually, it has been vacant for a long time. Okay, here's a few features. This is the back of the house. It's going to have a new green room, new dressing rooms, new break room, ADA compliant restrooms, elevator. So this is a huge improvement. Now it's only 400 square feet, so on each floor. So, and then in the back of the stage, you will have another 400 square feet that will be there for the performers, and the stage settings and scenery and that type of thing. Now, from the outside, I wanted to point this out. Something that we're doing here is, this is the back of the house. This is the roof plan. And just to try to appeal to anybody who's going to say, we're going to see equipment and stuff. Actually, we're doing a almost 7-foot parapet around all the equipment that's going to be on that roof. So you're not going to see equipment sticking out or anything like that. Because I know that's always a concern in the new buildings as to how much the equipment sticking on the roof. Mm-hmm. Quickly here, one of the things that besides the back of the house that we want to introduce to you is, we're going to repaint the theater on the exterior. Obviously, with the addition, it's going to require painting, and there's going to be repairs to other areas on the exterior of the building. Now, we've got this information. TF provided this to us from, it's the historical colors and what they theater has chosen. The board went to the Cascade Green. You have samples of that or have been submitted for the body. The caps, trim sills, going to be the Vogue Green. And these are all from the 1930s era selection. And then the storefront and sash of deep maroon. So here's some exterior elevations. The front, this is what it would look like. Unfortunately, you'd have to look at the samples to probably get the exact color because, yes.
I take it the mural is going to be preserved?
The mural is going to be preserved. You're talking about the interior mural, sir? Or the exterior?
The exterior.
Exterior is going to be preserved, absolutely. And I forgot to mention the interior mural that we've probably all seen. You walk in and there's a mural of the city from, I think it's 1918 something, I forget what it was. Anyway, that is going to be touched up and as preserved, it actually is protected throughout all this construction. Now, this is the front view. You notice interior, I'm going to show you some more elevations. You're going to see a new glass wall at the new location with new entry doors as they're brought forward, which will be in the interior here. All right, and this is the breezeway as you walk in the left and right sides of the breezeway. We're going to take some of the large sconces that are in the theater now, all right, and have that Art Deco historic look. And we have to remove a couple of those for the balcony. So we're going to repurpose those and put those in the entry so that you'll have that theme that carries in from the entry into the theater. And then as you face the theater, when you walk in that breezeway, you're going to see the new doors and the new glass wall. And above that, there is another opening that we will fill in with a new glass wall. And they're going to carry over the Art Deco theme of the chevrons that you see on the front of the building that actually are there now. And there are also chevrons that we discovered inside the theater.
You mind if I ask a kind of
Sure.
a procedural question? So I believe, so the staff right now has a planning application for the first phase of the work, which includes the exterior rear area that you just showed us.
Yes.
And you showed us the plan and some repainting. So things that you're showing us right now, is that for future work that staff has not yet received any planning application for? Is that
The
correct?
interior, yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. I
yes.
just wanted to.
Yeah, no, and I just, in speaking with staff, everyone has questions. What are they doing? What is going on? So we thought we would present this now.
Right.
And we have had meetings with staff, with planning and building, as well as Public Works
Right.
for the last 2 years.
Gotcha.
So.
I just wanted to
yeah.
understand where we went from,
No.
or at what point we went from something that staff is currently reviewing to what you're showing us now.
Well, this is-
which staff will review sometime in the future.
Yes, this is our application is to do this. And so we're presenting it, to bring everybody up to speed as to what the plan is.
Is that? Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Again, the east and south elevations. So this gives you a little better view of what that back of house will look like. These renderings don't have the mural that's on the back of the house that you asked about. So it's going to basically be at the same height with the exception of the parapet, as the front view, other than it steps down as from the local heroes as that slopes off. And this is the back of the house area. So that's what that view is going to be. And on this view, you'll see that there's an elevator and a door area that we're going to load in so people could back up and load into this area. And then the tall fly, as it's called, next to it, that's where the mural is right now. It does not show in this rendering. Just some other views of the east elevation. There is a fence that's going to have to be rebuilt, something better than what's there because it's an old wooden fence that's falling down. So there'll be a new fence. And of course, that would be submitted with a new design once we get to that point. And this is what it would look like from the inside. And I know that we've met with Jonathan on this many times as well. Everyone's excited if we can start bringing the action and they can get this theater approved and we can get it built, that we can start packing the house, and they plan on having a lot of shows, 3, 4, 5 a week if possible, once we get back into, and that's for us who lived here for a long time. We love to see the entertainment from an economic standpoint for the restaurants and everybody else. This is what we want. So
There you go.
anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Well,
Any
thank you.
questions? I'm sure you have a few.
Yeah, thank you, and I'm sure that a lot of the commissioners have questions. I will let Commissioner Costa start out.
There's questions for staff first.
No, the questions for staff,
not following.
no, okay, that's public hearing. This is not a public hearing, this is a presentation, so it's a little more casual, so to speak.
I wanted to clarify what I just asked about, but they are intending to split the entire project. So, clear, you're proceeding with design and construction before you have all of the requirements.
Actually, construction we've done so far is what's required. Right.
Normally in normal process, you would do all your CEQA and entitlement and then move into designing.
Okay.
Doing things.
Well, we are trying to get it open, and from an entitlement standpoint, yeah, thank you. From an entitlement standpoint, the putting the same theater back, and from discussions with building and staff, it is going back. We're doing exactly what the theater has always done. We're just putting it back in place, with the exception of the addition. And then the painting, of course, would require new approval.
I question that you're putting it back exactly as it's being taken
Well,
out.
no, not
because you have to comply with the Secretary of the Interior standards per CEQA.
Right.
So I have lots of questions about, like, for example, the chevron that you're doing over the entry. What documentation do you have to support putting that in, that was originally there? This is all part of understanding CEQA and the Secretary of the Interior standards and compliance with historic preservation.
Well, with that, all these documentation would just be photographs.
Okay. Let's see. So as part of this process, Tia, kind of similar to the general plan, there would need to be an inventory form done for this or an evaluation of this, correct?
The theater is in the inventory.
It is in the
It is in
inventory,
the
so it has a
inventory.
state park form that documents what's contributing, what's not contributing.
It is, but remember, it's on the city's registry for local historic places, but it's not on the state's but remember how our inventories were done?
Yes, they weren't
They're
necessary.
contributors to the city, but they're eligible to be put on the state historical. So they're not on there. In 2022, this particular property was.
But as we all know,
adopted.
if it's deemed eligible for all intents and purposes, it's
Based on the classification, which is under review right now to see what is that. We have the 1 through 5D.
Yep.
Right? So we're looking at the contributing factor right now to see how it needs to go through interior standards.
okay. I
We
think
just
there's
received the application
I know.
for this particular work, so it's under staff review right now. Before we can even circulate it to other departments, we need to find out just from that component is what does it look like from the planning side for the CEQA environmental and the interior.
My concern is that you've gotten the cart in front of the horse and you're going to have to potentially make changes because there may be things driven.
Well, and that's one of the reasons that we want to present that, just so that we can see what if there are some changes from the exterior standpoint, right?
Yeah, so the HDRC's purview is only exterior,
Right.
but CEQA is going to look at the whole thing.
That was destroyed in 1974. I'm sorry, and that's just one of the problems. And believe me, we have tried to find this out. Okay, there are no as-bills for this building.
Correct. So that's why putting stuff back based on hypothesis is typically frowned upon in preservation.
Well, yes, I understand that. Believe me, we had to go through a lot of that when we did the courthouse.
Yep.
I mean, we went all over the country finding portions, pieces, materials, et cetera. But in a situation that they have here at the theater, then the historical information just doesn't appear to exist. We got maybe some old black and white photos.
And it's
Um,
gonna make your job more challenging.
Yeah,
If some
no,
of the
and I
stuff you're
understand,
proposing to do.
but you know, the idea too is, and when I say we're putting it back to the same thing, it's going to be a theater. It was a theater. It's a theater by every description. What they changed previously was not entirely what it was previously. So when I say in the 70s, previously in 1974, 1980, now we're going to go back to more what it was back then.
Question, do you have a preservation consultant on your team, and are they familiar? I mean, if you did, they would be familiar with very
No-
interior standards.
No, there's not a preservationist on the team because that was never an issue that came up as long as we were going back with as much as we could to do the Art Deco. That has not been brought up by anybody. And it's a city designated, but it's not state.
That, it's a listed resource, doesn't matter if it's state or local. So once a historic resource, once something is listed on our, listed, state, federal, or local, it is considered a historic resource.
Well, I'm sure if we have to do a report for it, we can get a report.
Question? That's my question.
Mm-hmm.
Those are historic photos? No?
Well, basically, no, those are renderings of what it is. And as far as the trying to replicate what it was, the architects are looking back at what 1930s Art Deco theme was. And there were a lot of different themes. Believe me, we have seen all kinds of ideas on that as to what it is, because we don't know what was there. Now, one thing we did find some chevrons around and behind some of the soffits and that in the theater. We have photographs of that. Okay, we discovered a medallion at the center of, above the proscenium in the theater that was covered up previously. That's maintained. In addition to that, we discovered in doing, removing several layers of the concretes that have been poured over the years. Actually, we removed 3 slabs of concrete. They just poured, concrete was cheap in the 70s and 80s, and they just added concrete, and that's why you have the big slopes that you have in there. Other than portion of it interior, there was a slope because that's where the orchestra in 1930s played, and that was underneath the balcony. But we have discovered that there was some colored concrete underneath one of those slabs, and we're going to try and replicate that. You know, that's as far as historic, that's what you've got. As far as any kind of record, you know, other than, you know, as far as data that we can put hard data on. There was some historic, we found some historic tile underneath where the restrooms were. You know, typical of the 30s, black and white, you know, just checkerboard black and white subway type tile. But that had to be removed because it contains lead. So as a part of the abatement process, it has to come out. Now, whether that's something that's be required as far as interior design, you know, that would be something that the architects would have to work on as far as integrating that.
I can say I think the choice of 1906 is a good one. They have a pretty strong track record with restoring historical buildings. Whether they have what you would call a preservation consultant on staff or not, I know they've been involved with a lot of restoration projects going back to the early part of the century. And so I think they're probably pretty savvy about things like this and trying to parse out what's critical for a successful scheme on a project like this. So I think that's a positive in that regard. I was concerned though, when I looked at the floor plan of that addition, I thought I saw kind of a floor plan. I don't know if you go back to that slide, if it's possible. Is the PowerPoint still up? There it is. back of house where there's the green room leads into
Yeah.
the break room. It looked like a very, very tight little triangle where I
Oh.
don't think you could get,
You are correct. It is tight. It is tight,
don't
and
think you
the
could get a-
architects have been working at this,
yeah. I don't think you could get a wheelchair through there.
no, it's compliant. No, everything is measured and it's all compliant with code.
Hmm.
So you can do that, but you are correct, sir. It is tight.
Yeah.
We'd like to have more property, but that
Yeah.
unfortunately, we don't have
Yeah,
it at
just-
the point, at
seems
this
like
point
it
in
doesn't
time.
have the right clearance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have them double check that because that's a red flag, right to me, and like,
Yeah, well,
I
the
mean,
architects, they guarantee that it's compliant. I mean, they're doing the dimensions. If you'd like, pull it up, I can show you.
Yeah.
and I know when you get into being an architect myself, I know when you get into a planning situation like that, you're working with existing openings perhaps. You're not trying to mess up the existing wall.
There you go.
There you
Okay,
go.
right there, that one, yeah. 14, please.
14.
So you have to have pretty much, a full 4 feet in front of that opening.
I think it's over, I think it's 6'6".
Well, I'm looking at, you're coming,
Yeah.
Interior.
Well, the architects, because we've asked these questions too, okay, and we have, I'm involved in 2 or 3 meetings a week with them, and as they go through each one of these little changes and designs, they're pulling up the dimensions and they're going through this same drill.
Right.
Okay,
Anyway,
so-
we're kind of getting into the weeds on that one, but I think that's
We are.
what you're going to want to look into.
but you've got some pretty committed dimensional things.
I think at
going
the
on
end
there.
of the day,
Oh, it's very committed. Dimensionally, it is.
I think
It-
at the end of the day, Rod, the more documentation that you have, the better. You know.
Oh,
and
when we submit the full set of plans,
No, your architects and your designers that are doing all of your, even that, again, our purview being the exterior, any of the changes that you're making to the exterior.
yes.
We're gonna ask the questions. So,
Mhm.
the more documentation, the better.
And we'll try and see what we can find as far as more historic documentation. That is the hard thing.
I would suggest, similar historical buildings from the time period. So can't find pictures of this actual building, look at other Art Deco theater buildings.
Well, we can see what there is.
For.
That's the
again,
kind of thing I
for-
think 19.6 would be good at, given their,
Yeah.
given their track record.
And again,
But again.
I know you're not doing it necessarily yourself, but my suggestion, just to make sure that they're including those documents.
Well, we can, I think there is another theater that possibly they could go look at. I believe it's up in Reading. But that was done by the same architect back at the same time. And now whether, they have a set of plans, we have checked into that, and so far they did not. So unfortunately, this particular,
But any new
Yes.
work you do should be distinguished from historic. It
Excuse
shouldn't
me?
Replicate historic. So per the Secretary of the Interior standards, you want to, unless you have concrete documentation, construction, restoration, want to make sure that any new work is distinguished, can't be interpreted as historic. So that's why I'm saying you need somebody who understands
Mhm.
interior standards.
well, we can talk to the architect, and if you think that's going to be necessary, then,
I'm getting yelled at by Thea because I keep forgetting my mic.
Yeah, because that's kind of a new requirement in all the discussions over the last couple of years that it would be, because it wasn't really on the historic registry. And that's what's always been represented to us, that it's not on the historic registry. It's on the city, city of Auburn, but it's not on the historic registry, and therefore it didn't have to have any of those things.
But it's on the historic registry. Two? Yeah, so it's been on a registry.
We're in the city, yeah, but we were always talking about the state, and the city actually hadn't that just came up, so. If you need some additional information, we can try and get whatever you need.
I think.
Yeah. So,
Commissioner Hobbs, did you have questions? Nope. Your bailiwick?
yeah,
Fine.
but very good observation on them, you know, on our lack of space. Believe me, they have gone through so many gyrations on trying to fit all of this 10 pounds in our 8-pound bag.
Right.
You know, but they assure me and everyone that, you know, it's meets the codes, it's compliant, it's tight, but it does meet the code.
Right.
So,
How about you, Commissioner Haswell?
I have a question.
No questions?
okay.
Any other questions or comments? For Rod?
And I think that they did. I mean, from the board, they looked at that and is in conjunction with what's going to go with that, because the mural on the back is the key feature that they want to maintain. Interior colors haven't been picked, so.
Well, I just had, the only real question I had is what do you view as your overall schedule? I mean, I know that staff has a planning application for this first phase. You've heard a lot of comments tonight. I don't know what your thoughts are for subsequent phases, or if those are all dependent upon receiving some kind of funding from donors or what have you. But I was just curious as to what your thought process
Sure.
was on that.
Yeah, we have looked at that. First of all, as far as the city, we hope to hopefully have permits come February, given time to review the plans. I mean, the plans are going to be well over 300 pages themselves. Okay. Plus a spec book and, you know, all those. And a supplemental geological report and all of that. Now, part of that, what we do and how it's phased is going to be depending on funding. All right. So funding is going to be a key, whether or not, you know, the lottery comes in, a benefactor comes in, and the funding for the entire project is done. We can do everything at once. Okay. And we don't have to phase it. It'll be one last phase, which would probably then take, if we have all the funding available and permits in place, probably about 14 months to do all the construction and get it back open. If we have to phase it, it's going to be depending on funding. And the first phase would be structural and possibly the back of the house structure, so that we now have, it's all structurally sound there. And then the next phases would be interior improvements as funding's available to get the theater back open. And then possibly we even break out the balcony. Maybe we do the structure for the balcony now, and then the infrastructure for the second floor. But then we don't do the second floor, finish it, but we open up the first floor in the theater. So the theater's back open again. And then as funding is available, that's something we could easily do while the theater's open, with a very minor impact to the theater and shutting it down. So, you know, this is something that, you know, we could accommodate if the funding's not all there at one time.
Gotcha.
And then the back of house. So it's all going to be, you know, funding dependent. First thing, of course, is getting the structure and stuff. All the new steel, all the new foundations, finish the demolition, excavation, so that because the whole floor level drops back to just about street level. So, you know, those are the phases.
Okay.
Clarification, said permit by February?
Hopefully we'll permit in February.
What is the likelihood?
We have actually reached out to our city planning consultant because they have a little bit more expertise in this field for the CEQA part of historic design. We will be meeting with her tomorrow afternoon to kind of get a better timeline to bring back. And then we're still, you know, we have to go through building process, entitlement process through all of the other departments and get feedback from them, conditions of approval, application comments back to the applicant before we can even bring it back to historic design review for review and approval.
And then it would come.
Yeah.
Then
And maybe we have to do, we might at that point in time say, we have to do phase 4A in our one, but to us 4A, which would be the structure, which is something that has to be done to make the building safe and hold the building up.
Right.
And so we just do the structure. And then, as we move on, we move to the next phase, which is what we've done since we did the abatement phase. We did the repair of the trusses phase. We've done exploratory demo phase, which are the first three. So now the next logical phase is the structure. Putting in the steel, taking out the old walls and everything is not compliant, reinforcing the floors. The floors were built to very light 1970 office standards.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Well, we appreciate your presentation. Thank you for coming in. You've heard a fair number of comments here. It sounds like staff has got some items that they're working through too. I'm sure the two of you will continue to work
Mhm.
together well. And we look forward to seeing how this moves forward in the future, however long that takes.
I'm sure we'll be back.
Okay.
Yeah, do we need to meet with you guys tomorrow on that? No?
No, this is just for staff to meet with our city planning
Okay.
consultant.
All right. Well, just keep us informed on what we need to do and I can,
Absolutely.
then get the architects engaged to, if we need to get a preservationist involved or something if they want that. Or we make a trip to Reading and see what we can find them.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. All right, before we go into the last presentation, which is on Sluice Box, and I appreciate you guys very much for waiting to present. But can we take about a 2-minute bio break? Okay, so that way we can give you our undivided attention.
Oh, can't hear us? Okay. Yeah. Just leave the mic on?
I just leave it on.
Don't want to get feedback? So.
Sounds complicated. Yeah. Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
He seemed fine now. Yeah, that's true.
Okay, let's reconvene. Thank you for letting us take a minute. That way we can give you our undivided attention instead of having. Okay, so this next item that we have this evening is a updated presentation on the proposed sluice box. For those of you who are sitting at this bench, and we're doing so in October of 24. You saw a presentation at that time too. This is located at 250 Washington Street in Old Town. This is just a presentation. There's actually no real official action that's required at this time. But I'm sure, just like we did in October of 24, the applicant might appreciate any comments that we would have. And so with that, let's see, please remind us of your name. I apologize, I should know.
Sorry, Brad Roder, West Coast Development.
Brad? Okay, thank you. And we look forward to hearing from you.
It's not gonna be much. I apologize up front. I don't have anything extensive like the rest of everybody, so hopefully we can leave here in a couple minutes. But the only reason we're here is we met with you folks obviously a year ago, and we're just looking to work with you guys, and we feel like we got a great project. You guys somewhat agreed that you think it's a good idea. Gave us some great feedback, and all we wanted to do tonight was let you know that we took a lot of your opinions, your advice, and went back to the drawing board and put some things in. There's 2 items that we added, changed per our conversation a year ago. We had a shipping containers all along Washington Street, and one of the thoughts was to open that up. So we took a shipping container from the southeast corner and moved it over to the southwest. Therefore, we've got an opening along Washington Street. And then we also designed, drew in a covered roof structure that could go over the complex. That's it. I'm sorry. That's all we got. So nothing's really changed. We're just in the infancy stage. Obviously a unique project. And again, we're just a couple simple guys. We don't have deep pockets. So we're just kind of working with you guys to make sure that we've got something that everybody likes, and that we feel that when we can really put some pen to paper and get some drawings done, that we're not taking steps backwards.
Okay. Oh, I looked at your plans. I got the package last week, and I looked at your plans. These are the plans dated 4/26/25. So plans of April of this year. Looked at them, and I noticed some changes. One of the things that I had thought that I had recalled is when we met in October 24, I thought that we had a fair amount of discussion about finishes on the cargo containers because, and I didn't notice anything in the plan that reflected that.
Correct.
I'm wondering if you can remind us, well, that and also planting. I think we had some discussions about planting. Out
Correct.
front.
Again,
Where does that?
we're just simple, small guys, no deep pockets, and we're just trying to move through this at a pace that we can afford. And we're not looking to throw everything out you guys at once. We're just trying to walk through this and just take baby steps at it, just based on what our funding lack of is at this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do other commissioners have comments, questions? There you go. Look at that.
Don. All right.
Don.
I was trying to sorry, I'm an architect, but I'm still struggling to understand. Elevation C is along.
I'll show you.
Okay. Steve's got it.
I also struggled a little.
You
bit.
did? Okay, I'm not 36. Okay.
So elevation C is out here looking this
Right.
direction.
Oh, I see. It's not
So
that small, it's a
elevation-
circle and I thought it meant this, but that's a keynote. So,
Right.
okay, I see.
Elevation C
C
looks
is the two-story.
south,
Uh-huh.
west. It looks southwest. It's looking.
And there's elevation D. Okay, I just
So you
didn't
can
see the
in
nomenclature.
elevation C, he's got
Yeah,
the
there it is.
gable end roof
B,
top.
yeah.
And
Okay.
then correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like you've labeled them as well, it's the box, the 40-foot cargo box that's on the upper level that comes all the way across. And then down below is a couple of cargo containers. You got two 40-foot cargo containers that kind of go in the northeast direction.
Yes.
So do you
Yeah,
see
kind of.
that? So yeah, you got there and there. I had to highlight them.
Yeah, okay.
And then elevation B is right here. So
There, and
that's looking at,
B is this way.
yeah,
And then this is this the cargo container? That's what
yeah.
it's pointing
This
to?
this
Yeah.
is this.
Was there always a two-story piece? Okay, why, I don't remember that from October last
Yeah.
year. Okay. I guess maybe now that there's a structure, because that's something you added, that structure, the roof over it, it just makes it look, I know, because we did make a comment about shade, but it makes it look that much bigger
Yeah,
now to me.
We thought, that's why we didn't have it in the beginning, but that's.
Yeah, no,
just- We're working with you guys.
Just another question I had also is I noticed that out in front on the Washington Street side, let's see, it's not on that plan. It's on the cargo layout, which is the next sheet. I don't know if you've got them all up on the screen there. Because you're looking at the site plan and facility layout, which is A1, if you can go to A2. Is that possible?
Yeah.
There we
Who's
go.
in
Look
my-
at that. Perfect.
Duh.
Okay, so on the cargo layout on Washington Street, what are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 heavy dots that are just
Hmm.
off of right off the back of Walk?
I think that.
Right there. Yeah. What are those?
I want to say it's probably rubbery. Yeah, I think our architect was just throwing in like clump of grass or something just to show that that would be a vegetation.
Mhm.
Okay. And if I remember right,
What's that?
Oh, it didn't translate on.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
have an architect? Because it looks like it's a drafting
Yeah,
company.
Gary Collins.
Is he a licensed architect?
Yes.
All right. Normally,
Think so.
normally when,
Tired.
normally when you say drafting, it's because you're,
Well, again, we're simple guys. We don't have deep pockets. I can't hire a firm. I'm sorry. It's just,
no, I mean, it's still.
so he's helping us out.
Full practitioner, but still.
We're just doing what we can. But once we get to a point where we all think we have something that we all like, then obviously we'll go and hire.
Well, yeah,
who we need to hire.
there's things I like about this. I'm very curious though about, there's nothing on here that talks about existing grade elevation? Like a civil engineer would be interested in?
We have not gotten that far. We have a concept, we know what needs to happen. We've worked with a gentleman named Mayo here in town.
Uh-huh.
We've got consulting from him. He did some work for us to give us a general idea for our personal budgeting, but we haven't put anything on paper because again, you guys can just kick this thing out and we're not gonna dump all this money into just understanding dirt and underground stuff yet.
Mhm.
We're just trying to get with you guys to get the concept on paper till we can really dig into our pockets and find some funding and go make it happen.
I got you.
Yeah.
Um,
Basically, I guess to answer your question, is what we know is the lot is going to be level with Washington and Park.
With level, well, is that in fact level across those two?
Not right now. There's a 2-foot difference between the front corner where the entrance is.
Mhm.
That's 2 foot lower than the back corner.
No.
See,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. They're gonna cut into that.
Yes.
I think you mentioned that when you were with us a year ago too.
You know, that makes sense. I'm just thinking, everything's drawn like everything's so flat, and I hesitate to believe that you can get things on one single level.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like I said, it's only, I think it's 100 feet from front to back, and you're only talking 2 feet elevation difference in
Okay.
100 feet.
Do other commissioners have questions or comments? Everybody's studying.
Good, 'cause I'm tired.
Well, what do you, Brad, what do you see your, well, Yvonne, you've got a question or a comment?
Well, I was just gonna say, eventually, when you decide that you're gonna send this in,
Yes.
Jerry Collins drafting, unless he's got a license associated.
Jared's just putting this on paper
Okay,
for us to help.
Then you're gonna
Yes.
have to have somebody with a
Yes,
license.
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Again, we don't have those pockets right now because there's nothing approved, and we're simple guys.
You're concerned about over-investing in something that doesn't.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I understand.
Because again, I mean, even like you guys said a year ago, this is a very unique project that's gonna take a lot of minds to get wrapped around. And we're not looking to invest a lot of money if people can't wrap their mind and don't want to see it happen. We've got visions, we've got a plan, and we know what it can be. But until we get to that point where everybody comes to an agreement.
Yeah. No, I like the functionality of the proposal. What you envision as far as its use.
Thank you.
And the way people would be interacting with it. The aesthetics of the containers. You know, I think it might work because of the proximity to the railroad bridge. It wouldn't seem like that much of a departure, in other words. I mean, it's a departure from Old Town. But is it a total departure from context?
The context in Old Town with the tin roof and awnings and stuff. I mean, this is
Mhm.
no worse. No, but honestly, it's right by the railroad tracks.
Right.
So cargo containers that look like they're rail cars make sense to me. And I don't think that we've got a lot of light in Old Town.
Mhm.
So I think
Yeah.
that anything that is new and fresh, you know, again, within context is definitely an improvement.
Right, good point.
This is right off the freeway, so this is something that people see right
Mhm.
now. They don't, you know, the view when you jump off the freeway is marginal at best. I think this will be,
Yeah,
know,
and
something
it
to-
has a little bit of an entertainment.
well, it'll look like
atmosphere.
something's going on at
Right.
least, you know?
Yeah.
So,
And you envision like bands playing or?
Oh, yeah.
uh,
But we
out-
really see it just, bringing the community together.
Yeah, my concern originally was thinking about Old Town in terms of its context, but this doesn't strike me as terribly out of place as far as a type of facility that can go in that location, which we all, I think, are kind of tired of looking at it as a dirt lot. To really stand to see something happen there.
Certainly.
Mhm.
the shade structure makes a huge
Yeah, that's good. Good add there.
I think the idea of the shade is great. I would love to be able to, I mean, I know it's just something down on paper,
Yeah.
but what its final form and looks like, hopefully there's still some flexibility in
Oh,
that.
absolutely.
But I love the idea of providing shade because we all know that's the station. They put up umbrellas and
Yeah.
misters and all of that. So it's definitely something that's needed. Still think that it needs some massaging, but it's the right direction.
Okay, thank you.
I've
Yeah.
been to one similar to it. I think I mentioned this last year. I think there's something with cargo layouts in Tascadero, south Paso Robles.
Yes.
That I've been to. Nice.
Yeah, I know we mentioned a couple places last time that are all cargo containers, but it turned out to be really popular destination.
Yeah, I think, again, tightening it up as we go.
Yeah.
And again, we talked about finishes with cargo style finishes with another project out in front of us. They were considering outbuilding.
Uh-huh.
And we saw there's plenty of options for finishes.
Right.
You know,
Oh, yeah. As far as cladding. the container
yeah, for
itself.
cladding and for, for finishing this out, grasses, rocks, for the drought resistant landscaping stuff. And even the smallest amount will.
Yeah, yeah, because the reality is, the location where it's at and foot traffic, any extensive amount of landscape end up looking horrible. Drought resistant. Less is gonna be more, and that's rather than looks pretty for the first month because it's brand new,
Mhm.
and then 2 years after, kids, dogs, and everybody. think
If
it's
you
really
look-
garbage.
The station, the Gabion walls, the
Yeah.
landscaping they
Yeah.
have there, it's done pretty well, but it's
Yeah.
it's pretty hardy.
Absolutely.
And they've got DG.
Yeah.
It's a good balance of robust, can get beat up, but also soft with
Mhm.
too harsh. They do a good job.
And it works to not be a heat sink. So yes, the shade structure is important. You have to make sure what's below it is not reflective, not acid.
Right.
That'll make it even worse. And just a heads up, if you're not in by December of this year, there's a 2025 building.
Important to point out.
There's a lot coming, isn't there?
Anybody else have questions or comments for Brad?
Yeah. Carry on.
Yeah.
Keep it up.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for coming out. I appreciate your patience and waiting.
I was on my phone, just texting.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Thank you. Maybe next time we can go a little earlier.
Well, I gotta tell you this, so I think this is the longest planning commission meeting we've had in
very
at least 3 or 4 years.
The new record.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your patience and for coming in. So with that, Tia, I noticed at the bottom of the agenda, you had staff follow-up reports. Do we need to go through those or are we gonna bypass those tonight? We ought to discuss, what the likelihood is of there being a planning commission meeting in December.
Well, for city council updates right now, we have December 1st is everyone's invited. This is the reorg and mayor.
Oh, yeah.
That happens here in this
That's right.
room, starting I think at 5:30 on the 1st. And then,
5:30?
yeah, I think 5:30.
City council for
It's on the
the new
website
mayor. Yeah.
for the reorg for city council and the new mayor-elect. It will be Kelly Davis. She's interim mayor.
Will
right
be
now.
who?
Vice Mayor Kelly.
Oh, okay.
And then December 8th will be a regular city council business meeting, and then they'll go dark the remainder of the year and come back in January. So I'm thinking the same thing for us. I mean, we don't have any applications that are in right now that would be ready for a December meeting. So I would suggest that we do the same, don't have a December meeting, and we join back on January 20th for our regular scheduled planning commission meeting, which at that time would be the reorg as well.
For
If-
us.
Yes, for planning commission. If we had something that we could bring that would be historic design related, we would do the joint meeting as we would January 20th. So I'll send out, calendar invites where we looking at the beginning of the year. What are we looking like January, February, March, like we do in the 3-month increments? And if that works, but January 20th, for sure, we will have planning commission just because we need to do the reorg.
Okay.
We try
And
to
you
get
said reorg, we don't have any seats changing.
Nope, just votes on chair, vice chair,
Right.
traffic committee.
Right.
We do.
Okay.
That's the only thing that I have slated so far. So if we're all in agreement, we're good for this meeting. We have enough, staff has enough on their plate to get us through the end of the year.
I don't doubt that.
Enough applications. And then just a friendly reminder, you did talk about the 2022 building code cycle that does sunset on December 31st of this year. We did
2022, what was that?
the 2022 building code cycle.
Oh, building, yes.
So the 2025 building code cycle will take effect on January 1st. We've already gone through city council. We just last week had it on consent for second reading. It takes effect 30 days after that, but statewide, it goes into effect on January 1st. So we do have, as we go through this every 3-year cycle, we have some developers that will try to get their building permit applications in, although that they don't have planning entitlements that are required for that. We do allow them to submit that application to lock it in on the 2022, but only for a certain amount of time. We leave that up to the building official. Permits will not be issued until they suffice all the planning entitlements, but we kind of bring them in, stamp them, they go on a shelf for a little bit until they get closer to planning entitlement. So when you say, I mean, when you hear from others that say, oh, we're just getting in our building permits and we're going to get them issued, that's not necessarily true.
And they
They're
also,
trying.
and they're proceeding at their own risk.
Correct. We do let them know at the counter when they're doing this without the proper planning entitlements, that they're doing this at their own risk, and they may have to resubmit drawings based on the conditions of approval and the entitlements for that. They're fine with it. It's at their own discretion, their own cost, but we do, as a courtesy, take those in. Not a whole heck of a lot, but we do let the building department make that determination. I think that is it. Oh, there was one, Chair Hyatt, you had mentioned the short-term rental appeal that Planning Commission heard for one of the properties, 180 Greenfield, that was heard on October 21st. We did receive, the city clerk received a formal appeal to the Planning Commission's decision to take that to City Council. That will go end of January to Council.
Okay.
There was an appellant, so they had a 10-day review period.
One out of the Aeolia Heights area. We did.
You
but-
did. So what happens is then there's a 10-day review period where anyone in the public or can actually appeal the Planning Commission's decision for the approval. So they're objecting to that and they're requesting to go to City Council. So I will bring it to City Council, present it to them, and they can make that decision then. And that will be the final decision.
The appeal can go either way.
Mhm.
Yes. That's correct. I noticed that there was something about, I didn't notice the short-term rental. I did notice encouraging ADUs. Well, I'll have to go back and look through it. Fair enough. Yeah, we can. I think that's fair. Well, but it doesn't come to us every time. Remember, if there is no objection from neighbors, then staff makes the decision. Right. And if there is an objection from neighbors, then it comes to us and we make a decision. And then as you are about to see in late January, they can then go over our head and go to city council. Which seems like a reasonable thing. If somebody wants to invest the money to do that, thinking that they might be able to make a change, they should be permitted to do that, I feel.
It's in our ordinance to allow them. Okay. That could be a future discussion if you want staff. I mean, we can talk to legal about it, but it's gone through, I mean, that ordinance has been adopted by the city council for approval into the city's municipal code. I think at this point, no, because we're following the procedures of the ordinance. However, you're asking for a conversation to happen to possibly have that removed from the ordinance. That would be a different conversation.
Right.
You want it
What-
removed or you want limitations set? That's two
Limitation,
different things.
Because as you recall, we had the three.
Oh, it's interesting. The one that's going before council was the one who was in residence. No? Looking back at the dates, or not the dates, the addresses. Well,
So the middle one, she lived most of the time.
oh,
in
yes, you're correct.
And just left for a week or so and lived with her grandmother or something.
Right, the one that's going before council is 180 Greenfield.
That's my hood.
But I believe that it's Aeolia.
Yeah.
And I believe that he also lived there part-time. No? Okay.
He he has his family there over holidays. I don't recall him living there.
Okay.
But they weren't residents.
Regardless, that's gone to city council, that's out of our hands. But the point that you're making is, should we at some point go back and revisit the short-term rental ordinance? Personally, I don't see a problem with the way the short-term rental ordinance is written. It does allow short-term rentals unless there's an objection altogether. Is that something that would go before planning commission, or does that go before council? That's kind of what I
Council.
thought. And I can tell you that with a topic like that, I would imagine that even if it were going before planning commission would make a recommendation and council would decide, either overrule us or make the decision flat out. And it seems to me that that is more appropriate being decided by council. So I think, yeah, I think Commissioner Lemberg, I think that that's also out of our hands. This was an interesting discussion, though.
I have one other thing, turn, and it's from a while ago. Long time ago, we had a property that came before us that was over by the high school.
Oh,
You know, remember this. The only reason I bring it up is because at the time, the chair at the time and I had requested a review of our historic preservation ordinance, which does need, in my opinion, some updating, right? There are some loopholes that things fall through. And we had requested that. So is there an update on that, or is that, and with the general plan and everything else going on?
That's
Answer,
exactly.
ma'am?
But I will tell you, because you made that comment and I know about that property, I mean, it was before my time. of
As I
course.
say, it was before you
It
came on.
was,
Yeah, yeah.
but it has been noted, so I can just tell you from a staff perspective, if you look at what my zoning ordinance looks like right now, it's like my book of knowledge, my Bible. And when I have notes of wish lists, this is what we want to change, this is what we do, and we've talked to, it's really staff, it's staff time, it's funding to do a zoning text. We're trying to do it in bits and pieces of what staff can actually do along with our daily workload. What are those really important things? There are some things that state requirements, we have to update our second dwelling, our ADU. Although we have one, every single year HCD makes new changes. So we're following
I know.
what the state requires, but our zoning is already so outdated. So we're trying to pick and choose which one we can do. If we had all the money, grant and everything says we can do a full text and we can have consultants come in and do this, there is a list that says, please, these are the ones.
Yeah.
But that is on there. I mean, we've talked about it before, historic, it is very important. The inventory is very important. We're already past the 50 years again, just in the 70s, right?
I just want to make sure that we don't, things don't fall through those.
It is,
cracks,
and I
because we're so limited to
understand.
just the districts.
Correct. And I understand, even though it's out of the district, and even if it were, single-family homes are not under the purview for the historic design. So we're trying to walk that of,
Yeah.
is it just notifying and getting comment, or do those kinds of things really have the relevant, that we have to bring in front of you and actually talk about those? So,
Okay, I
know
appreciate that it hasn't fallen off anybody's radar
No,
because we
it's-
hadn't heard it.
it's because it is Finley. Was it actually a Finley address?
I think it was a Finley.
Okay. That's how
In
I.
general, it was just this idea that because we were limited, right? Our purview is only this and this, and any resource that falls out, historic resource that falls outside of those boundaries, single family or not, we have no purview. And so.
I think that we had jurisdiction over it. They just did it.
No, we didn't have jurisdiction.
Were we not? Of
Nope.
that one?
School district, wasn't it?
Oh, I thought that.
Yeah, that was a fun one. So that's another one where the school district, in my opinion, did not follow CEQA. They did
Yeah,
not
I
do
think that,
a.
that's what I
part
remember
of their
was that
master
we
plan, but-
reprimanded the school district and said, don't do that again.
Right.
Didn't we? I mean.
Bridget can only done a lot, but yes, but in the
Don't do
end,
that again.
it did not fall. It didn't.
Okay. I
It did
thought
not
they-
fall in
I
our
thought that
purview because it was
but-
outside of the boundaries of the two districts. Any resource outside of it. Don't think it was a single family.
Yes, it was. And by my recollection, it was that little house they had been using.
It was
for
an
offices,
It was an adult
That's right.
school.
right?
It was the adult.
was-
school.
It was a house though.
Yeah.
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 But whatever.
But either way, it just raised an issue and I always try to bring it up periodically.
Bring it up
like,
so that it gets. doesn't
don't
get-
want it to get forgotten.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We have a motion to adjourn.
Second. Or no, we do.
I said, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn this meeting.
Yeah, there we go.
Second.
Hey, we all, yeah, let's go.
Here we go. Thank you.
So we don't normally meet in this room. Last time I remember we met in, oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Last time we met at Darren's.
And it's the Bueller party?
Oh, okay. Well, and it was kind of needed the space tonight. No. It was great. I learned a lot. Thank you.
Yes, we can.